When I turned 18, my life took a difficult turn. My parents and twin sister decided there wasn't enough space for me at home, essentially forcing me to leave. For the next few years, I struggled with an unstable life, moving from one temporary living situation to another, even living in a tent at one point. I did whatever I could to get by. Despite these challenges, I eventually built a stable life and was able to buy my own house. Now, at 26, just as I've gotten my life in order, my family has suddenly reappeared, led by my sister, who is now expecting her fourth child. They showed up at my door unannounced, looking to move in. This is the same sister who once pushed for me to be kicked out, saying there wasn't enough room for both of us in our childhood home. Growing up, I always felt like I was treated as less important than my sister. It was clear our parents preferred her, and they even admitted they wouldn't have had me if my sister hadn't been conceived. She was always the center of attention, getting all the best toys and clothes, while I barely received enough to keep up appearances. My sister has always shown selfish, narcissistic traits, likely because of how our parents favored her. Instead of being a supportive sibling, she consistently brought me down. The only person who ever treated me kindly in our family was my grandfather. He saw how unfairly I was treated, but when he passed away when I was 15, the last bit of kindness in my home disappeared. When my sister got pregnant as a teenager, our parents married her off to her boyfriend and brought him to live in our already crowded house. This left me without even a couch to sleep on. My dad sometimes slept on the living room couch, so that wasn't an option either. With nowhere else to go and being told not to ask relatives for help, so the family's dysfunction would stay hidden, I was completely forced out. I ended up living in a tent in our backyard, which happened after the police mistakenly brought me home during a brief period of homelessness. This setup was meant to be a reward for keeping quiet about the reality of my living situation. After years of struggle and hard work, I finally managed to improve my life, both physically and emotionally. Now, as my family tries to intrude on the life I've carefully built, I'm at a crossroads, unsure how to deal with their unexpected and unwelcome return. They had once offered me a spot to live in their backyard, but only if I cleaned it up first. Despite the mess, which was littered with flour, sugar, and overrun by rodents, I accepted. At one of the lowest points in my life, I saw this as an opportunity and quickly moved in. My sister, on the other hand, was relieved to see me go, pointing out that there wasn't enough room for me at her place. No one even asked where I was planning to go. Transforming the backyard into a livable space was tough, especially dealing with the rodent problem, but I eventually made it work. Unfortunately, the situation forced me to drop out of high school just a few months before my final exams. My friends encouraged me to stay in the backyard and finish school, but by that time, I had already given up on that path. Instead, I focused on working, relying solely on my earnings to get by. Before long, I realized I needed to improve my skills for a better future. My father was a service technician, and as a kid, I often played with his tools instead of toys, helping him with household repairs. That early experience came in handy later, as I decided to invest in my education and eventually got a job at a car manufacturing plant. I worked hard and steadily climbed the career ladder until I became a design manager. Recently, an old friend who was going through a divorce needed to sell his house quickly. Even though I was hesitant at first, the huge discount and flexible payment plan he offered were too good to pass up, so I decided to buy it. I bought a 4-bedroom house and moved in about 3 weeks ago. To my surprise, my estranged family showed up unannounced at my new home. I hadn't had any contact with them for years, and I lived 17 miles away, so their visit was completely unexpected. I suspect a neighbor who still follows me on social media might have told them where I live. When they barged in, my parents expressed pride in my accomplishments, but it felt strange to see them react to me owning a house at 36, especially since they were still renting. My sister and her husband wandered around the house as if they were inspecting it to move in. When I confronted them, they vaguely claimed they were just checking on me. It was ironic that they suddenly showed interest in my life now, when I didn't need them anymore. During their visit, my sister boldly claimed a bedroom for herself, excited about the private bathroom, as though it was already decided that they would move in. My parents tried to calm her down, asking her to manage her children better. In the middle of this chaos, I was shocked and immediately shut down any discussion about them moving in. The situation quickly escalated as they started pushing the idea that I had a moral obligation to house my sister because of family duty. I stood my ground, reminding them that it was their responsibility, not mine, to provide for their children. I firmly told them to leave my home. making it clear that I wouldn't feel guilty for their poor planning or lack of space. As they left, I felt a sense of peace knowing I was living on my own terms, free from the pressure of their unwanted expectations. I recalled how, back when I was younger, my grandfather allowed my cousin to sleep on the couch, but when I asked for the same favor, he refused and kicked me out. I vented about how I had struggled, living with rodents in my employer's garage and then in a cramped apartment for 10 years, but no one from my family ever checked on me. When I shared these memories, my mother began to cry and tried to hug me, but I stopped her and insisted they leave. My brother-in-law, JN, told me to toughen up, bringing up his own hard times and saying I had more than enough space in my house since I was single. I sharply told him to stay quiet. My sister cursed at me for raising my voice at her husband, but I stood firm and told them they needed to leave, or things would escalate. I made them leave before they could argue back. My anger was clear. I had endured their toxic and selfish behavior for too long, and now their greed was obvious. I was no longer the obedient teenager they used to manipulate. If they had pushed any further, I was fully prepared to involve the police. To clarify, my sister never once offered to pay rent. She and her husband had been freeloading off my parents for over a decade, and now they seemed determined to do the same with me. Despite the clear strain this put on my parents, they never took any steps to encourage her to become independent. Instead, they tried to dump the responsibility onto me. A week after our first confrontation, my mother returned, but this time she was more direct. She argued that my home had enough room to house my sister and her family, again mentioning how crowded things were at their place. I stayed firm in my refusal. When persuasion didn't work, she shifted to veiled threats, implying that my large, mostly empty house was a security risk, and having family around would be safer and help with household chores. I dismissed her manipulative tactics and told her clearly to leave and not come back. Just a few days later, a neighbor informed me of suspicious activity around my house. He said he had seen a pregnant woman, a man, and a young boy peering through my windows and hanging around the backyard, likely trying to break in. I was grateful for his vigilance, gave him my contact information, and asked him to keep an eye on things. I had planned to install security cameras, but unfortunately, I didn't act fast enough. 5 days later, the same neighbor called to say he thought someone had broken into my home. When I rushed back, I found out he was right. My sister and her husband, John, had entered through a rear window. When I confronted them, my sister tried to justify their actions, claiming they had no other choice and accusing me of being unreasonable. As I processed her audacity, John smugly commented on how easy it had been. I lost my temper and physically confronted him. My sister tried to get between us, and in the chaos, their teenage son hit me over the head with a bottle, leaving me bleeding. The situation spiraled out of control, and my sister called our parents, telling them I was the aggressor. When the police arrived, they began sorting things out while my sister and John frantically apologized, begging the officers not to arrest their son. Despite their pleas, I was ready to press charges against all of them. However, my sister denied the break-in and assault, claiming it was just a family visit gone wrong and her son's actions were only a prank. When my parents arrived, they immediately took my sister's side, pressuring me to drop the charges. They banded together to defend her and tried to make me out to be the vindictive one. Faced with their collective denial and manipulation, I realized they were determined to gaslight me into submission. I was determined not to let my family rewrite the narrative of what had happened in my own home. Thankfully, my neighbor stepped forward with a crucial statement, which ultimately led to the arrest of everyone involved in the assault. They spent the night in jail because my parents couldn't afford their bail. The next morning, while they faced trial, I was at the hospital getting treated for my injuries and making sure there were no internal damages. I took a few days off to recover and pressed charges for assault, also seeking compensation for my legal fees, which the court granted. Despite my parents' attempts to persuade me to drop the charges, I stood firm. I even threatened legal action against them for their role in orchestrating the attack. Since my nephew is a minor, he was dealt with under juvenile law and only spent a short time in a juvenile facility, with his parents held responsible for restitution, lost wages, and covering my medical expenses. My sister and her husband were fined heavily. In an attempt to ease their financial burden, they asked the court to allow them to complete part of their fine through community service. Since the incident, things have been quiet. I hope they've learned their lesson and will keep their distance. However, my parents haven't let this go. Just yesterday, they showed up at my door and waited outside for an hour until I reluctantly let them in. They pleaded for my help, but when it became clear they were speaking on behalf of my sister, I immediately refused to get involved. That's when they revealed their real reason for visiting. They were getting older, their home was falling apart, and they wanted to move in with me, expecting me to take them in out of duty. I confronted them about their lack of responsibility as parents. They mentioned the idea of giving their house to my sister, which I saw as another tactic to pressure me. They even suggested that my sister could pay rent to live in my house, and I could use it to cover my mortgage. I firmly declined, stating that my sister needed to handle her own financial problems without my involvement. They continued to plead, arguing that my house was too big for just one person, but I made it clear that my future plans didn't involve staying single or accommodating them out of obligation. Their attempts at emotional manipulation didn't work. I reminded them of how they had treated me in the past and emphasized that I would not be guilted into giving in. It was obvious they were trying to use family ties to their advantage, but I remained firm in setting boundaries to protect my well-being and future. After they left, visibly upset, I closed the door behind them. Regardless of whatever names they might call me, I resolved not to give in to their demands or let them take advantage of me. Now, I'm ready to move on to the next chapter in my life, stronger and wiser from this experience.
Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Hartley, 28, currently working as a marketing executive at an innovative tech startup. Life was smooth, the job, a loving boyfriend named Mike, and a solid bond with my dad, Richard. He's been my anchor ever since my mom passed away back in high school. But everything took a turn when Dad got sick, really sick, the kind of illness that makes you confront just how fragile life truly is. We were sitting in the doctor's office, and I could see the worry etched deep on Dad's face. The doctor began laying out the treatment plan. "Mr. Hartley, the procedure is intricate, but it's your best shot at recovery," he explained, his tone steady but serious. Dad nodded slowly, but I could see the calculations running through his mind. "And the cost?" he asked, barely above a whisper. When the doctor gave us the figure, my heart dropped. It was a sum beyond anything I'd ever imagined. But I squeezed Dad's hand without hesitation. "We'll figure it out, Dad. Don't worry," I assured him, even though my mind was already spiraling. That night, I found myself at the kitchen table, drowning in numbers. My savings, 401 potential loans, it was all on the line. Mike found me amidst the piles of paperwork, my eyes bloodshot from staring at the screen too long. "Babe, you need rest," he said softly, massaging my tense shoulders. I leaned into his touch. "I can't, Mike. I have to make this work for Dad." The following weeks were chaos. Between work, hospital visits, and phone calls, I barely had time to breathe. Dad's wife Diane and her daughter Brittany were around too, but something felt off. "We're so grateful for everything, Jessica," Diane would say, her perfectly manicured fingers tapping on her phone. "Brittany and I just feel so helpless." I forced a smile. "It's okay, Diane. We're family." But as the bills started stacking up, I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that Diane and Brittany's help was more talk than action. Their support never seemed to extend beyond words. It was always thoughts, prayers, and well wishes while I struggled to keep us afloat financially. One night, after a long day of juggling work and hospital runs, I overheard Diane and Brittany whispering in the kitchen. "Mom, are you sure Jessica can handle all this?" "Maybe we should," Brittany began, but Diane cut her off. "Shh, honey. Let's not stir the pot. Jessica's got it under control." My blood boiled, but I bit back the urge to confront them. Instead, I buried myself in work, more determined than ever to manage everything. Weeks turned into months, and finally there was hope. Dad was improving, the treatments were working. I should have been thrilled, but the tension at home was unbearable. One evening, as Mike and I curled up on the couch, he pulled me close. "You're amazing, Jess. What you've done for your dad, it's above and beyond." I gave him a weak smile. "I'm just doing what anyone would for their family." He shook his head. "No, not everyone would. I just hope they appreciate it." I wanted to believe they did, but there was this sinking feeling in my gut that wouldn't go away. Something was wrong, but I couldn't quite figure out what. Still, I pushed the thought aside. Dad was getting better, and that was all that mattered. For now. But little did I know, the real storm was just on the horizon. Dad's health was improving, sure, but his attitude, that was a different story. It started small, a dismissive comment here, a harsh word there. But soon it felt like I was walking on eggshells in my own home. Then, one night, I overheard Dad and Diane in the kitchen, their voices hushed. But Richard, we can't keep dipping into that account. What if Jessica finds out? Diane's voice was low, but the tension was clear. She won't, Dad replied, his tone cold and dismissive. And even if she did, it's none of her business. I'm entitled to some financial privacy, aren't I? My heart raced. What account? What were they hiding? I retreated to my room, my mind spinning. The next day, I casually mentioned needing Dad's help with some paperwork, hoping to glean more information. Oh, sweetie, you've got this. You're so capable, he said, not even glancing up from his phone. Deanne chimed in with her usual saccharine smile. Yes, Jessica, you've been so helpful. Why don't you let us take care of things for a while? Their words made my skin crawl. But I played along, masking my unease. That night, I waited until everyone was asleep and snuck into Dad's office. What I found made my stomach churn. Hidden bank statements, accounts I had no idea existed, and large transfers to Diane and Brittany. Then my eyes landed on something that nearly broke me, a wedding planner's invoice for a destination wedding in Bali. For Brittany. The next morning, I confronted Dad, my hands trembling as I held up the evidence. What is this, Dad? After everything I've done, you're secretly funding Brittany's wedding. His face flushed with anger. You had no right to go through my things. I had every right. I've been breaking my back to pay for your medical bills, and you're funneling money to them. Diane rushed in, her face a perfect mask of fox concern. Now, Jessica, let's not overreact. Overreact? My voice cracked with fury. You've been bleeding him dry. Dad slammed his fists on the table, startling me. That's enough. I won't be spoken to like this in my own home. You're ungrateful and meddling. I want you out now. I felt like I'd been slapped. Dad, you can't be serious. Oh, I am. And to make sure Brittany has the wedding she deserves, I've sold your car. The money's already been transferred. The room spun. My car, the one thing I had left that was truly mine, gone. You can't do this, I whispered, barely able to breathe. I can, and I have. Pack your things and leave. You're no longer welcome here. Diane had the audacity to look sympathetic. It's for the best, dear. You understand, don't you? I looked at them, my father, the man I'd sacrificed everything for, and the woman who had wormed her way into our lives. Something hardened inside me. I understand perfectly, I said, my voice icy. I understand that I've been a fool. But not anymore. I packed a bag, my thoughts racing. Where would I go? What would I do? As I stood by the door, I turned back one last time. I hope you're happy with your choices, Dad, because this is the last time you'll ever see me. The door slammed behind me, the sound echoing in the silence of my new reality. Homeless, in debt, and betrayed by the one person I thought I could always rely on. But as I stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of my old life, something inside me stirred, determination, anger, and a fierce resolve not just to survive this but to come out on top. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Mike, it's me. I need a place to stay. And then I need your help with something. It's time to fight back. Mike's sister Allison offered her spare room as my sanctuary. And as I unpacked the few belongings I'd managed to grab, the weight of my situation hit me like a freight train. Jess, you're shaking, Allison said, wrapping me in a hug. Let it out. I'm here. And I did. I sobbed until I had no tears left. When Mike arrived, his face was a storm of concern, and I recounted everything between hiccups and fresh tears. Those manipulative snakes, Mike growled. We need a plan. Allison nodded, her jaw set with determination. First things first, you need a job that appreciates you. The next day, I marched into my boss's office, heart pounding. Rachel, I need to talk to you about my future here, I said, standing tall. Rachel looked up, surprised. Jessica, what's going on? Taking a deep breath, I laid it all out, my increased responsibilities, the successful campaigns I'd spearheaded, my unwavering dedication. I believe I've more than proven myself. I'm asking for a promotion and a raise. Rachel leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. I was wondering when you'd come to me. The senior marketing position opens next month. It's yours if you want it. I walked out of that office feeling like I could conquer the world, but I knew it wasn't enough. That night, Huddled around Allison's kitchen table, we brainstormed furiously. What about your social media skills? Mike suggested. You could freelance on the side. And just like that, my side hustle was born. I threw myself into work, hardly sleeping, but slowly, surely, my savings started to grow. Weeks passed. I was exhausted but determined. Then one night, as I pored over some old financial documents I had managed to save, something caught my eye. Guys, I called out, my voice trembling. I think I found something. Allison and Mike crowded around my laptop. What is it? Allison asked, peering at the screen. Look at these loan applications, I said, pointing. The numbers don't add up. And these tax forms. There's no way this is legal. Mike whistled low. Jess, this is serious. What are you going to do? I sat back, conflicted. I don't know. He's still my dad. A dad who kicked you out and sold your car. Allison reminded me softly. I nodded, feeling a sense of resolve solidify inside me. You're right, I need to do something. The next few days were a whirlwind of secret phone calls and anonymous tip-offs. I gathered every scrap of evidence I could find and packaged it neatly for the authorities. As I hovered over the send button on the final email, doubt crept in. What if I'm making a mistake? I whispered. Mike squeezed my shoulder. You're not responsible for his actions, Jess. You're just making sure he faces the consequences. With a deep breath, I clicked send. A weight lifted off my shoulders. The fallout was swift. Within days, news of an investigation into my father's finances spread like wildfire. I kept my head down at work, but couldn't help overhearing snippets of conversation. Did you hear about Richard Hartley? Tax evasion, they're saying. I always thought that new wife of his was trouble. Then one evening, my phone lit up with a familiar number. Jessica, please. Dad's voice cracked. I need your help. They're investigating me. I made some mistakes. I closed my eyes, steadying myself. No, Dad. You made your choice. Now you have to deal with the consequences. I hung up, my hand trembling. Allison appeared at my side, offering a glass of wine. You okay? She asked gently. I took a sip, feeling the warmth spread through me. You know what? I think I am. For the first time in a long time, I feel free. Mike joined us, raising his own glass. To new beginnings, he said with a grin. I clinked my glass against theirs, a smile tugging at my lips. To justice, and to never letting anyone take advantage of us again. As we sat there, laughing and planning for the future, I realized something. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about thriving on my own terms. And I was just getting started. The dominoes fell faster than I had ever imagined. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, 25, and I work as an accountant in the city. Right now, I'm living with my parents and my younger brother Mark, who's 22. Let's just say he's in no rush to join the working world. I've been busting my butt at work, trying to climb the corporate ladder, but recently I noticed something strange. My savings seemed to be shrinking. One night, I was counting the cash I'd stashed away. Yeah, I still do that. Old school. And suddenly, I'm like, what the hell? Where's my money going? Fuming, I stormed downstairs. Mom, Dad, have either of you seen anyone messing with my stuff? I asked. Dad barely looked up from his newspaper. What are you talking about, Sarah? My money is disappearing, and I think Mark might be behind it. Mom gasped. How could you accuse your brother? He'd never do something like that. Right on cue, Mark sauntered in, all innocent. What's going on? He asked. I glared at him. You know exactly what's going on. Stop stealing my money. Whoa, chill out, sis. Maybe you're just bad at math, he smirked. Dad jumped in. Sarah, apologize to your brother. He's going through a rough patch. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A tough time? I'm the one working my ass off while he sits around all day. Mom started tearing up. Why can't you support your brother? He's just trying to figure things out. I stormed out, slamming the door behind me. I needed to vent, so I called my best friend, Olivia. Liv, you won't believe this. Spill it, girl. What happened? I explained the whole situation. Olivia was quiet for a moment, then said, Sarah, you've got to stand up for yourself. This isn't fair. Later that week, I was at work, staring at my computer screen, totally distracted. Earth to Sarah. My coworker Tom waved a hand in front of my face. You okay? I sighed. Just family drama. Nothing new. He gave me a sympathetic look. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. That night, my boyfriend Jake came over. We were cuddling on my bed when he noticed how distant I seemed. Babe, what's wrong? He asked. I poured out the whole story and Jake listened intently. After a moment he said, maybe it's time you moved out. This situation isn't healthy. I nodded, but then a thought hit me. Actually, I think I know what I need to do. The next day, I was at the electronics store, browsing through hidden cameras. The clerk gave me a weird look, but I didn't care. I was done being the victim. It was time to catch Mark red-handed. A few weeks later, the cameras were set up, and the footage was making my blood boil. I sat at my desk, watching the videos on my laptop, and there it was, Mark sneaking into my room, rifling through my drawers, and pocketing my cash. The audacity. He even had the nerve to smirk while doing it. That lying piece off, I muttered, clenching my fists. But it got worse. I had audio too. I overheard a conversation between Mark and my parents in the kitchen. Sarah's so selfish, Mark whined. She's got all this money and won't even help her own brother. Mom's voice chimed in. I know, sweetie. We'll talk to her about being more supportive. I was livid. I called Olivia again. Liv, I caught him red-handed. No way. What are you going to do? I'm thinking of showing my parents the footage. They have to believe me now, right? Olivia hesitated. Just be prepared, Sarah. This might not go the way you hope. The next day at work, I was distracted, replaying the videos in my head. My boss stopped by my desk. Sarah, great job on the Johnson account. How would you feel about taking on more responsibility? I blinked. Surprise, really? I'd love to. Great, let's discuss your promotion next week. As I processed the good news, Jake called. Hey babe, want to grab dinner tonight? Actually, can you come over? I need to show you something. Jake arrived and I showed him the footage. His jaw dropped. Sarah, this is serious. You need to confront them. I nodded, feeling a mixture of anger and nervousness. I know I'm going to do it tonight. As I psyched myself up, there's a knock at my door. It's Tom from work. Hey, I noticed you seemed off today. Everything okay? He asks. I hesitate but decide to confide in him. Actually, no. My brother's been stealing from me and I finally have proof. Tom's eyes widen. That's terrible. Do you need any help? I shake my head. Thanks, but this is something I need to handle myself. That night, I'm pacing in my room, the USB with the footage feeling like it weighs a ton in my hand. I can hear Mark and my parents laughing downstairs, probably at some lame joke Mark made. I take a deep breath. It's now or never. I march downstairs, my heart pounding. Family meeting. Now, I say, my voice firm. Dad looks up annoyed. Sarah, we're in the middle of dinner. This can't wait. I reply, my voice steely. I have something you all need to see. As I set up my laptop on the dining table, I can feel Mark's eyes boring into me. He knows, but it's too late for him now. I hit play, and the room falls silent. It's time for the truth to come out, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. The video plays, and I watch my family's faces shift. Mom's hand flies to her mouth, Dad's eyes narrow, and Mark, he's turning pale as a ghost. What the hell is this? Dad demands, his voice harsh. I pause the video. This is proof. Mark's been stealing from me for months. Mark jumps up, knocking his chair over. You put cameras in your room? What kind of psycho does that? The kind who's tired of being robbed by her own brother. I snap back. Mom's shaking her head. Sarah, how could you invade your brother's privacy like this? I can't believe what I'm hearing. Are you serious? Did you miss the part where he's been stealing my money? Dad stands up, his face red with anger. You had no right to film your brother without his consent. This is a violation of his trust. His trust? I laugh bitterly. What about my trust? What about the fact that he's been lying and stealing from me? Mark sees his chance and jumps in. I can't believe you'd do this to me, Sarah. I thought we were family. Oh, don't you dare play the victim, I snarl. You're nothing but a thief and a liar. Mom starts crying. How can you say such horrible things about your brother? He's going through a difficult time. And I'm not? I shout, my voice rising. I'm working my ass off trying to save money, and he's stealing it right from under my nose. Dad slams his hand on the table. That's enough, Sarah. You will apologize to your brother right now and delete that footage. I stare at him in disbelief. Apologize? Are you out of your mind? He's the one who should be apologizing. If you can't respect your brother's privacy and trust him, Mom cuts in, her voice cold. Then maybe you shouldn't be living under this roof. I feel like I've been slapped. Are you already kicking me out? Dad nods grimly. Until you can learn to trust your family and not resort to such underhanded tactics, yes. I look at each of them, Mom crying, Dad fuming, and Mark with that smug look on his face. Something inside me snaps. Fine, I say, my voice icy and calm. I'll go, but don't expect me to come crawling back when you finally realize what a manipulative leech you've been protecting. I storm upstairs and start throwing clothes into a bag. My phone buzzes. It's Olivia. How did it go? They kicked me out, Liv. Can I crash at your place? Of course, honey. I'm so sorry. As I'm packing, there's a soft knock at my door. It's Mark. Come to steal something else before I leave. I spit out. He has the audacity to look hurt. Sarah, come on. You know I was just borrowing the money. I was going to pay you back. Save it, Mark. I'm done with your lies. I brush past him, levying my bag. Mom and Dad are waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Sarah, please, Mom pleads, her voice shaky. Just apologize and we can forget this whole thing. I look at them, these people who are supposed to love and support me, and feel nothing. With a sense of disappointment, I say goodbye and walk out the door. As I wait for my Uber, I text Jake and Tom, letting them know what happened. Their supportive responses make me feel a little less alone. The car arrives, and as we drive away, I watch my childhood home disappear in the rearview mirror. It hurts, but part of me feels free. This isn't the end, it's a new beginning. Fast forward 6 months and life has taken quite the turn. I'm sitting in my new apartment, sipping coffee and looking out at the city skyline. It's not huge, but it's mine, and that means everything. My phone buzzes. It's Olivia. Girl, you ready for tonight? This gala is going to be lit, she says. I laugh. As ready as I'll ever be. Can't believe I'm being honored at a company event. Feels surreal. After hanging up, I check my emails. There's one from my boss. Sarah, your performance this quarter has been outstanding. We're discussing another promotion. Keep up the great work. I grin, feeling a surge of pride. Take that, Mark. Speaking of Mark, word on the street is that he's gotten himself into some trouble. Without me to steal from, he turned to online scams. Big mistake. The doorbell rings. It's Jake with breakfast. Morning, superstar, he says, kissing me. Ready for your big night? As we eat, my phone pings with a news alert. I nearly choke on my bagel. The headline reads, Local man arrested for online fraud scheme. And there's Mark's mugshot, looking as pathetic as ever. Jake reads over my shoulder. Whoa, karma's a ha. I nod, feeling a mix of satisfaction and pity. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Later, as I'm getting ready for the gala, my phone rings. It's a number I haven't seen in months. Home. I hesitate, then answer. Hello. Sarah, it's Mom. Her voice is shaky. We saw the news about Mark, and we've been thinking. We were wrong about everything. Can we talk? I take a deep breath. I'm sorry, but no, I'm happy now, and I'm not going back to that toxic environment. I wish you the best, but I've moved on. I hang up, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The gala is in full swing when I arrive. Olivia, Jake, and Tom are there, cheering me on as I receive an award for my contributions to the company. As I give my speech, I look out at the crowd, my chosen family. 6 months ago, I thought I'd lost everything. I begin. But sometimes, losing what you thought you needed is the best thing that can happen to you. It forces you to find your true strength and your real support system. I raise my glass. Here's to new beginnings, true friends, and karma. The room erupts in applause. As I step off the stage, my phone buzzes. It's a text from an unknown number. Congrats, sis. I'm sorry for everything. Mark. I stare at it for a moment, then delete it without responding. Some bridges are better left burned. Olivia grabs my arm. Come on, girl, let's celebrate. As we get the dance floor, I realize I've never felt more free, more myself. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. And me? I'm just getting started. The story may have come to an end, but I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven your family and given them another chance? Or do you think I made the right choice by cutting ties completely? This situation isn't black and white, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done differently, if anything? Share your opinion in the comments below. Your perspective might help someone going through a similar situation. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue sharing these real-life experiences. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey there, I'm Sarah Thompson, 32, living the suburban dream with my husband Michael and our adorable 5-year-old daughter, Emily. We've got a cute little house with a white picket fence, and I'm rocking at my marketing job while Michael shapes young minds as a high school teacher. Sounds perfect, right? Well, not exactly. Enter Evelyn, my mother-in-law from hell. I swear it's her life's mission to drive me insane. Just the other day, I was getting Emily ready for school when my phone buzzed. Sarah, dear, I hope you're not sending Emily to school in those awful overalls again. A proper lady should always look her best. I rolled my eyes so hard, I thought I'd see my brain. Thanks for your concern, Evelyn, but Emily loves these overalls. She's comfortable, and that's what matters. Her reply. Well, I suppose you know better, in that tone that clearly meant she thought I didn't. Michael, bless him, tries to keep the peace, but it's like walking a tightrope. Last Sunday at dinner was a prime example. Mom, this roast is delicious, Michael said, trying to lighten the mood. Evelyn beamed. Thank you, sweetheart. I used your grandmother's secret recipe. Sarah, dear, I'd be happy to teach you sometime. Lord knows Michael could use a home-cooked meal more often. I gritted my teeth. Thanks, Evelyn, but I think Michael appreciates my cooking just fine. Of course, dear, I'm sure your creative dishes are very interesting, she replied with that passive-aggressive smile. Then there's Natalie, Michael's sister. On the surface, she's all smiles. But those side glances and backhanded compliments don't go unnoticed. Oh, Sarah, that promotion must be so exciting. It's amazing how you balance work and family. I could never leave my kids with strangers all day. I bit my tongue, wanting to remind her that daycare workers aren't exactly strangers. But I decided not to start another family feud. Despite all the drama, Michael and I managed to find moments of peace. Last night, after Emily was tucked in, we curled up on the couch. You know, I love our little family, he said, pulling me close. I smiled, the tension easing. Me too. Emily's growing up so fast, isn't she? Yeah, she is. And Sarah, I know my mom can be difficult. I appreciate how patient you are. I sighed. It's not easy, but I know she loves Emily. I just wish she eased up a bit. I'll talk to her again, Michael promised, though we both knew it probably wouldn't change much. Still, I appreciated his effort. But I never could have imagined how our world was about to be turned upside down. I was knee-deep in PowerPoint slides when my phone buzzed and Evelyn's name flashed on the screen. Great, just what I needed before a big presentation. I almost declined the call, but something made me answer. I opened my mouth to say hello, but Evelyn's voice cut through first. Natalie, are you there? Good. We need to finalize our plan for the gathering. I froze, my finger hovering over the end call button. I've been thinking, Mom, Natalie chimed in. Are you sure this is the best way to get Emily? My heart stopped. Get Emily? What the hell? Of course it is, Evelyn snapped. That woman is completely unfit to raise our Emily. Did you see how she let her run around in those filthy clothes at the park? I bit my lip, remembering how Emily had begged to wear her favorite play clothes. But kidnapping, isn't that a bit extreme? Natalie sounded nervous. It's not kidnapping if it's for Emily's own good, Evelyn insisted. Now, here's what we'll do. During the family picnic, you distract Sarah with that work nonsense she's always on about. I'll take Emily to the bathroom, but instead, we'll head straight to your car. My hands shook as I fumbled to start recording. This couldn't be happening. What about Michael? Natalie asked. Oh, please, that boy can barely tie his shoes without asking my permission. He'll come around once he sees how much better Emily's life is with us. The call ended abruptly, and I stood there, staring at my phone in disbelief. When Michael got home, I practically ambushed him at the door. You need to hear this. Now. I played the recording, watching his expression change from confusion to disbelief to anger. This has to be some kind of joke, he muttered, shaking his head. Mom would never. Never what, Michael? Never try to steal our daughter. Never badmouth me behind my back. Wake up. Don't talk about my mother like that, he snapped. There has to be an explanation. An explanation? Did you even listen to the same conversation I did? They're planning to kidnap Emily. Maybe you misunderstood. Mom can be intense, but she loves Emily. She wouldn't do this. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So what? You think I'm just making this up? I asked, my voice sharp with frustration. I didn't say that, Michael backpedaled. But come on, Sarah. Kidnapping. That's a bit much, don't you think? A bit much, Michael. Your mother and sister are literally plotting to take our daughter away from us. How are you not getting this? He ran his hands through his hair, frustration clear on his face. Okay, let's say, hypothetically, this is real. What do you want to do about it? We need to confront them, I said firmly. Catch them in the act. Michael looked horrified. You want to use our daughter as bait? Of course not. But we need to expose them, Michael. We can't just sit back and hope they'll change their minds. We argued back and forth for what felt like hours. Finally, Michael slumped onto the couch, defeated. I can't believe this is happening, he muttered. I sat beside him and took his hand. I know it's hard to accept, but we need to protect our family, all of us. He nodded slowly. You're right, we'll set a trap at the picnic. But Sarah, if this turns out to be a misunderstanding. It won't be, I said, more confidently than I felt. But if it is, I'll personally apologize to your mother. As we sat there planning how to outsmart Evelyn and Natalie, I couldn't help but wonder how we had gotten to this point. How had our family become so fractured that kidnapping seemed like a viable option to them? One thing was clear, after this, nothing would ever be the same. The family picnic was in full swing, but my stomach was in knots. Michael and I exchanged a tense look as we put our plan into action. Emily, sweetie, mommy and daddy need to grab something from the car. Stay here and play, okay, I said with a forced smile. We walked away, hearts pounding, and ducked behind a nearby tree. Sure enough, Evelyn swooped in like a vulture. Emily dear, come with Grandma. I have a surprise for you, she cooed. As they started walking away, Michael's face went pale. Oh God, they're really doing it. We burst from our hiding spot, sprinting toward them. Stop right there, I shouted. The whole family turned to stare. Evelyn froze, Emily's hand still in hers. What's going on? Michael's cousin asked, confusion written across his face. What's going on is that Evelyn and Natalie were trying to kidnap our daughter, I spat. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Evelyn's face hardened. Don't be ridiculous. I was just taking her to the bathroom. Cut the crap, Mom, Michael said, his voice shaking. We heard you planning this on the phone. Natalie's eyes widened. You heard? Every word, I confirmed. How you think I'm an unfit mother and how you were going to take Emily and raise her yourselves. Murmurs of shock spread through the family. Evelyn's grip on Emily tightened. You don't understand, she pleaded. Sarah's poisoning Emily against us. She's turning Michael against his own family. I scoffed. Are you serious? You're the one manipulating everyone. Michael's aunt stepped forward, her face stern. Evelyn, is this true? Have you been lying to us? Of course not. Evelyn protested, her voice trembling. I've only ever wanted what's best for this family. But the cracks were showing. Michael's cousin spoke up. Wait, remember when you told us Sarah refused to let Emily come to the family reunion? Sarah, is that true? I shook my head. Emily had the flu that weekend. We couldn't travel. More revelations followed, years of Evelyn's lies unraveling before our eyes. Natalie, looking pale and defeated, finally broke. I can't do this anymore, Mom, she whispered. Tell them the truth. Be quiet, Natalie, Evelyn hissed. But Natalie shook her head. No, I'm done. Everyone needs to know. Mom's been manipulating all of us for years. She made up stories about Sarah to turn us against her. She even faked being sick last Christmas to guilt Michael into missing Sarah's family gathering. The family erupted in shocked exclamations. Evelyn's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful brats, she shouted. After everything I've done for this family. She turned to the crowd, eyes wild. You're all going to believe these lies. I'm the victim here. They're trying to turn you all against me. But her words fell flat. The family had seen her true colors. Michael gently took Emily's hand from Evelyn's grasp. It's over, Mom. You need help. Evelyn's face crumpled, then hardened. Fine. Side with her. But don't come crawling back when she ruins your life. With that, Evelyn stormed off, Natalie trailing behind her. The family gathered around us, murmuring apologies and sharing shocked conversations. In the weeks following the picnic incident, Michael and I made the difficult decision to cut all ties with Evelyn and Natalie. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for our family's healing. Are you sure about this? Michael asked one night, his voice heavy with emotion. I squeezed his hand gently. We have to, for Emily's sake. For our sake. From that point forward, we threw ourselves into creating a loving and stable environment for Emily. Family game nights became a cherished tradition, filled with laughter and silly jokes. One evening, Emily proudly displayed a block castle she built. Mom, Dad, look, I built a castle. Michael grinned. That's amazing, sweetie. You're quite the architect. As we focused on our little family, news of Evelyn's actions spread like wildfire through the community. Her carefully constructed image crumbled overnight. Did you hear? Evelyn's been asked to step down from the charity board, Michael's cousin mentioned over coffee one day. I tried not to feel too satisfied, but it was hard. How's she taking it? Not well. She's become a bit of a recluse, the cousin continued. Natalie even confessed to some financial irregularity at Mom's request. Michael looked troubled. They're both facing legal issues now. I shook my head. I'm not surprised. Your mom always thought she was above the law. While Evelyn's world was falling apart, ours flourished. I threw myself into work, and soon my efforts paid off. Sarah, we'd like to offer you the position of marketing director, my manager announced one day. I was floored. Really? Wow, thank you. Michael found new purpose as well. He was offered a leadership position at his school. They want me to head the English department, he said, beaming. Can you believe it? I absolutely can. I hugged him tight. You're going to be amazing. Emily blossomed in the newfound peace of our home. The anxious child who once fretted over pleasing her grandmother was gone, replaced by a confident and happy little girl. Mommy, can I join the soccer team? She asked one day, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Of course, sweetheart, we'll sign you up this weekend. Before we knew it, our wedding anniversary rolled around. As we sat on our porch, watching the sunset, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come. Can you believe everything we've been through? I mused, leaning into Michael's embrace. He chuckled softly. From family drama to domestic bliss, who would have thought? We made it through together, I said, my voice soft. That's what matters. Michael nodded, pulling me closer. I'm so grateful for you, Sarah. For our family, we're stronger than ever. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, a deep sense of peace washed over me. We had faced our demons, stood our ground, and come out stronger. Our little family was thriving, free from toxic influences. Evelyn and Natalie were learning the hard way that actions have consequences. But their journey was no longer our concern. We had a bright future ahead, filled with love, laughter, and the unbreakable bond of our family. Now I have a question for you. If you were in Michael's position, could you ever truly forgive your mother for attempting to kidnap your child? Or would you, like Sarah and Michael, choose to cut all ties despite years of family history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspectives on family, forgiveness, and protecting your children are valuable to this community. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more engaging content your way. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to reading your responses. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Thompson. I blink my eyes open, the harsh fluorescent lights stinging my retinas. Everything's blurry. Where am I? What happened? I try to move, but my body feels impossibly heavy, like it's made of lead. She's awake. Doctor, come quick. A voice calls out, and suddenly the room fills with activity. Faces I don't recognize hover over me, talking quickly. I catch fragmented words from their conversation. Coma, 6 months. Car accident. Wait, what? Olivia, honey, can you hear me? It's my mom's voice, but something about it feels off, like guilt is wrapped around each word. Mom? I croak, my voice rough and raspy from disuse. What's going on? You've been in a coma, sweetie. There was an accident. My dad adds, his voice strained and unfamiliar. As the fog in my mind slowly starts to clear, questions flood in. Where's Ethan? And Amber? A thick silence falls over the room, suffocating. The doctor clears his throat. Let's focus on you right now, Olivia. How are you feeling? Over the next few days, I learned the extent of my injuries and the grueling road to recovery ahead. But something still feels wrong. My parents are acting strange, and the hospital staff seems to tiptoe around me. I haven't seen Ethan or Amber once. Mom, where's my engagement ring? I ask one day during her visit. She flinches, then quickly glances at the clock. Oh, look at the time. I should get going. Your father will be here soon. As I regain my strength, I overhear my parents whispering in the hallway. We need to tell her the truth, John, my mom says urgently. Not yet, Helen. The doctor said it could set back her recovery, my dad responds, his voice low. Tell me what? What aren't they saying? That night, I convinced Sarah, the night nurse, to let me borrow her phone, just for a few minutes. She hesitates but hands it over, glancing nervously around. My fingers tremble as I open Facebook and my heart drops into my stomach. There on my profile are dozens of recent posts and photos. But they're not of me. They're of Amber. Amber at my job. Amber with my friends. Amber with Ethan. My hands shake as I scroll through post after post. It's like staring into a warped mirror, my life reflected back at me, but wrong. So wrong. Nurse, I call out, my voice trembling. I need to speak to my parents, now. Sarah rushes in, concern etched on her face. Olivia, what's wrong? I turn the phone towards her, showing her Amber's face grinning back from my profile. Everything, I whisper, everything is wrong. As Sarah leaves to call my parents, I lie there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. What the hell happened while I was asleep? And more importantly, what am I going to do about it? The door creaks open and my parents walk in, guilt etched deep into their faces. It's time for answers, and I'm not letting them leave until I get them. Start talking, I demand, my voice steadier than I feel. What's going on with Amber? Where's Ethan? And don't you dare lie to me. The silence is thick and uncomfortable. My mom opens her mouth, then closes it again, her eyes darting nervously to my dad. I'm going home, I declare, struggling to zip my bag with my still weak hands. Honey, maybe that's not the best idea right now, Mom says softly, exchanging a worried glance with Dad. Why not? It's my apartment, isn't it? The silence that follows feels deafening. Isn't it? I repeat, more forcefully this time. My dad sighs deeply. Olivia, there's something we need to tell you. But I don't wait to hear the rest. I'm already out the door, hailing a cab. My parents trail behind, protesting weakly, but I don't care. The ride home is tense, filled with their vague warnings and my cold, stony silence. As soon as I walk through the door of my apartment, I see them, Amber and Ethan, cuddled up on my couch in my living room, like they belong there. Like I'm the intruder. What the hell? My voice is barely above a whisper, but the shock in the room is palpable. Amber jumps up, her face a mask of guilt and fake concern. Olivia, you're home. We didn't expect you so soon. Clearly, I spit the word out, my heart pounding. What are you doing here? In my home? With my fiancé? Ethan stands, looking everywhere, but Liv, I can explain, Ethan says, his voice wavering. Oh, this should be good. I snarl, my initial shock quickly morphing into rage. Explain how you're cuddling with my sister in our home. Amber steps forward, her hands raised in a placating gesture. Olivia, please, we were just trying to keep your life intact while you were away. I laugh bitterly. I was in a coma, Amber, not on vacation. And how exactly does that explain you living in my home, sleeping with my fiancé? It's not like that, Ethan interjects weakly. Then what is it like? I demand, my voice sharp. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my twin sister has stolen my entire life. Amber's face crumples. I was just trying to help. Your job, your apartment. I couldn't let it all slip away while you were gone. And Ethan? Screwing my fiancé, was that part of your heroic efforts too? The silence that follows is damning. Ethan's face turns pale and Amber looks like she might be sick. How long? I ask, my voice dangerously quiet. How long has this been going on? Ethan swallows hard, his eyes avoiding mine. Liv, we started before the accident. He hesitates. I'm so sorry. The world tilts as his words sink in. Before the accident, they've been betraying me for over 6 months, maybe longer. I turn to my parents, who've been hovering anxiously in the doorway. Did you know? I ask, my voice shaking. Their guilty faces tell me everything I need to know. We thought, if you woke up, the shock might be too much, Mom stammers. I let out a harsh, broken laugh. Well, consider me thoroughly shocked. Without another word, I grab my bag and storm out, ignoring their pleas to talk it out. I don't stop until I find myself at a coffee shop, my hands trembling as I dial Sophie's number. When she picks up, I finally break down. Olivia? Oh my God, is it really you? Amber said you didn't want to talk to anyone after. Amber lied. I choke out. She's been lying about everything. 20 minutes later, Sophie bursts into the coffee shop, wrapping me in a fierce hug. I can't believe this, she mutters. I knew something was off, but I never imagined. As I pour out the whole sordid story, her face cycles through shock, anger, and finally, determination. I take a deep breath, staring at my phone. It's time to start reclaiming my life, I say. I dial HR at my company, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. Hello, this is Olivia Thompson. I need to discuss my employment status. There's a long pause. I'm sorry, but Olivia Thompson is currently employed and performing excellently. Is this some kind of joke? My heart sinks. No, it's not a joke. I'm the real Olivia Thompson. I've been in a coma for 6 months, and my twin sister has been impersonating me. Another pause. I think you should speak with Mr. Jenkins. Half an hour later, I sit across from my former boss, watching his face cycle through disbelief, shock, and finally, understanding. Good God, Olivia, I don't even know what to say. Tell me about it, I mutter. Can you help me? I need my job back. My life back. Mr. Jenkins sighs, rubbing his temples. I want to help Olivia, but legally, this is a nightmare. Amber's been working as you, signing contracts, making decisions. It's not as simple as just swapping you back in. I leave his office with a vague promise of support but a growing realization. I need legal help. That's how I find myself sitting in the office of Rachel Chen, an employment lawyer with a no-nonsense attitude. Identity theft, fraud, potential embezzlement, Rachel lists, scribbling notes. We've got a case, Olivia, but it won't be easy. We need evidence. Lots of it. I nod, determination settling in. Where do we start? Friends, colleagues, anyone who can vouch for your identity, and Amber's deception. Bank statements, emails, anything that shows she's been acting as you. Sophie becomes my partner in crime, helping me track down old contacts. It's a mixed bag. Some are shocked to hear from me, having bought into Amber's lies. Others, like my old college roommate Jenna, are furious on my behalf. I knew something was off, Jenna exclaims. Amber never could nail your laugh. Count me in as a witness. But for every ally, there's a setback. Rumors start circulating about my mental state. I heard she's confused from the coma I overhear at a coffee shop. Thinks her sister stole her life. Sad, really. I grit my teeth, pushing through the anger and hurt. Every obstacle only fuels my determination. Amidst the chaos, there's one bright spot. David, my physical therapist. He's the first person in ages who sees me for me, not as Amber's confused twin. You're making great progress, he encourages during one of our sessions. How's everything else going? I find myself opening up to him, sharing my frustrations and small victories. His unwavering support becomes a lifeline. You've got this, Olivia, he says one day, his hand resting on my shoulder. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. His touch lingers, and for a moment I forget about the mess my life has become. But reality crashes back as my phone buzzes with a text from Rachel. Found something. Come to the office ASAP. An hour later, I'm staring at bank statements, my hands shaking with rage. She's been siphoning money from your accounts, Rachel explains. Small amounts at first, but they've been increasing. This is embezzlement, Olivia. We've got her. I should feel triumphant, but all I feel is exhaustion and anger. So much anger. What's our next move? I ask, my voice hard. Rachel's eyes glint with determination. We build our case, identity theft, fraud, embezzlement. Amber's going down, and we're going to get your life back. I step outside the office, my heart pounding. This is it. months of fighting, of proving myself, have led to this moment. I take a deep breath and push open the door to Mr. Jenkins' office. He looks up, a smile breaking across his face. "Olivia, come in, please." As I sit down, he slides a folder across the desk. "It's done. Amber's been fired effective immediately, and I'd like to formally offer you your position back." I stare at the contract in front of me, emotions swirling inside. Relief, validation, and something else. "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins," I say quietly, "but I think I'm going to have to decline." His eyebrows shoot up in surprise. "Are you sure? After everything?" I nod, a sense of calm settling over me. "I am. I'm starting my own firm. This whole experience has shown me what I'm capable of. I want to build something of my own." He leans back, a proud smile crossing his face. "Well, I can't say I'm not disappointed, but I understand. You're going to do great things, Olivia." As I leave the office, my phone rings. It's Rachel. "Olivia, it's happening. They're arresting Amber right now." I rush to the precinct, arriving just in time to see Amber being led out in handcuffs. Our eyes meet, and for a moment, I see a flicker of the sister I once knew. But then it's gone, replaced by cold defiance. The next few weeks are a whirlwind. The investigation reveals Ethan's complicity in the fraud, leading to his arrest as well. My parents try to reach out, leaving tearful voicemails, sending pleading texts. "Olivia, please, we're so sorry. We thought we were protecting you." I delete the messages. Maybe one day I'll be ready to hear them out. But not now. Instead, I focus on the people who stood by me. Sophie, who has been my rock through it all, and David, whose steady support has turned into something more. Months pass, and my new firm is taking off. I've just landed our biggest client yet. Later that night, as David and I walk hand in hand under the stars, I reflect on my journey. I've lost so much: my old life, my family, the future I thought I wanted. But I've gained something far more valuable, a life that's truly my own. As we walk into our future together, I realize that sometimes the worst betrayal can lead to the best rebirth. I lost my old life, but I've built a new one that's all mine, and no one can take it away from me. Now I've got a question for you. If you were in Olivia's shoes, could you ever forgive your twin sister and parents for their betrayal? Or would you, like Olivia, choose to cut ties and build a completely new life? This is a tough one. On one hand, family is supposed to have your back. On the other, what Amber and her parents did was a massive breach of trust. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear where you stand on this. And hey, if you enjoyed this wild ride, hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories. And if you're new here and want more jaw-dropping tales like this, consider subscribing. I've got plenty more where this came from. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Parker. I'm 25, barely scraping by in a tiny apartment while chasing my dream of becoming an investigative journalist. It's not easy, let me tell you, but I've always been a fighter, even when the odds were stacked against me. Growing up, everything was always about my sister, Megan this, Megan that. My dad, Richard Parker, the big shot businessman, couldn't see past his precious little princess. Me, I was practically invisible. I remember one time I got straight A's on my report card. I was so excited to show him. I ran into his office waving it around like it was a winning lottery ticket. You know what he said? "That's nice, sweetie. Did you see Megan's new dance routine?" Typical. Megan twirls in a tutu and Dad throws a party. I bust my butt to get into college. Crickets. But hey, I've got my people. There's Zoe, my ride or die best friend since high school. She's the one who keeps me sane when the family drama gets too heavy. Liv, you're worth 10 of Megan, and your dad's an idiot for not seeing it. She once said, over cheap wine and even cheaper takeout. Then there's Sam, my mentor at the local paper, a grizzled old journalist who's seen it all. "Kid, you've got the nose for news," he said to me just yesterday. "Keep digging, and you'll go places." Speaking of digging, I think I'm onto something big. There's this construction company that's been winning all the city contracts lately, and something smells off. I'm determined to find out what's really going on. I was at the office late last night piecing together some leads. It was well past midnight when I finally called it a night. As I drove home, my mind raced with possibilities. This could be it, my big break. Watch out, world. I muttered to myself, grinning at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Olivia Parker is coming for you. Little did I know the world had other plans. As I pulled into my apartment complex, I spotted Megan's car, parked crook, taking up 2 spaces, classic Megan, probably stumbling home from another party. I shook my head. Some things never change. I trudged up to my apartment, fumbling with my keys, when my phone buzzed. It was Dad. Asterisk Olivia, your sister needs a ride home from the police station. Go get her, asterisk. I stared at the message, my blood boiling. Of course, Princess Megan needed saving again. And of course, Daddy dearest couldn't be bothered to do it himself. Asterisk story, Dad asterisk, I typed back. Asterisk give got an early morning. Maybe you should call her and Uber asterisk. I turned off my phone before he could reply. Tomorrow was a new day, and I had a story to chase. Little did I know, it would be a story that would change everything. That night, as I drove home from a late-night stakeout, my mind buzzed with the leads I'd uncovered. Then suddenly, headlights blinded me from behind. Before I could react, a car slammed into my rear bumper. What the hell? I screamed, gripping the wheel as my car spun out of control. The next few moments were a blur of screeching tires and shattering glass. When everything finally stopped, I found myself in a ditch, my car crumpled around me. Pain shot through my body as I tried to move. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking as I dialed Dad. Dad, I've been in an accident. My car's totaled. I need help. Olivia, it's 2 a.m. Can't this wait until morning? No, Dad, I'm hurt. I'm stranded. Look, I'm busy. Call a tow truck or something. The line went dead. I stared at my phone in disbelief, tears welling up in my eyes. Hours later, I found myself sitting in the ER, nursing a sprained wrist and a bruised ego when my phone buzzed. It was Zoe. Girl, where are you? I've been trying to reach you all night. So, you won't believe what happened. I told her everything, the accident, Dad hanging up on me, the hours I spent waiting for help. That's messed up, Liv, but wait, there's more, Zoe said. Your sister got arrested last night for DUI. What? Megan? I blurted out, completely stunned. Yeah, and get this, your dad bailed her out immediately. Hired some hotshot lawyer too. My blood boiled. Of course, Princess Megan gets the royal treatment while I'm left to fend for myself. I'm coming to get you, Zoe said, her voice firm. We'll figure this out together. True to her word, Zoe showed up, helped me gather my things, and drove me home. As we pulled up to my apartment, there was Megan, stumbling out of a cab. She looked worse for wear, but definitely not like someone who'd just spent the night in jail. Hey sis, she slurred, swaying on her feet. Rough night. I ignored her and went inside. The next few days were a blur of insurance calls and pain meds, but as soon as I could think straight, I threw myself back into work. If my family wasn't going to have my back, I'd make dang sure my career would. I started digging into the car theft. Something didn't add up. Why target my beat-up Honda when there were plenty of nicer cars around? I called my contact at the police station. Hey, Mike, any leads on my car? I asked. Sorry, Olivia, it's a dead end. Car was found torched on the outskirts of town. Torched? That's weird, right? Yeah, Mike said, lowering his voice. Between you and me, it's fishy. Matches the MO of a theft ring we've been tracking, but we can't prove anything yet. That was all I needed to hear. I started connecting the dots, following the trail. It led me straight to a local construction company, Bedrock Builders. As I was compiling my notes, a name jumped out at me, and my blood ran cold. Listed as a major client of Bedrock Builders was Parker Enterprises, my father's company. I sat back, mind reeling. Was this why Dad was so dismissive when I called? Did he know something about the theft? Just then, my phone rang. It was Sam from the paper. Kid, you better get down here. That story you've been working on, it just got a whole lot bigger. I grabbed my coat, my heart racing. Whatever was going on, I was going to get to the bottom of it, even if it meant taking down my own family. When I stormed into the newsroom, Sam was waiting for me, a grim look on his face. Your hunch about Bedrock Builders, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Look at this. He handed me a stack of documents. As I flipped through them, my stomach dropped. These are my father's company records. Yep, and they don't add up. Not by a long shot. The next few days were a whirlwind. I barely slept as I pored over the numbers, trying to make sense of it all. But the more I dug, the worse it got. Embezzlement, fraud, money laundering. My father was neck deep in it. And Megan, her wild lifestyle, the constant emergencies that needed Dad's financial intervention, it was all a smokescreen. A way to explain away the missing money. I confronted Megan at her apartment. She answered the door looking even worse than before. "What do you want, Olivia?" "The truth, Megan. For once in your life, just tell me the truth." Her face crumpled. "I didn't know at first. Dad would just ask me to go out, be seen at expensive places. Then it got more complicated." "Complicated how?" I asked, my voice shaking. "He'd give me credit cards, tell me to max them out. Said it was for tax purposes. I didn't ask questions." She looked down, ashamed. I felt sick. "Did you know about the DUI? Was that part of the plan too?" Megan burst into tears. "I'm so sorry, Liv. I never meant for it to go this far. Can you forgive me?" "Forgive you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You and Dad left me out in the cold while you were living it up on stolen money. Money that ruined people's lives." "Please, Liv," she sobbed. "We can fix this. We can go to Dad together." "No," I said, shaking my head. "I'm done with both of you. I'm going to expose everything." Back at the office, Sam and I worked around the clock, building an airtight case. We cross-referenced bank statements, interviewed former employees, and tracked down shell companies. "You sure about this, kid?" Sam asked as we prepared to go to print. "This story, it's going to blow up your whole family." I took a deep breath, staring at the headline on my screen. Parker Enterprises, a legacy of fraud. "My family blew itself up, Sam. I'm just reporting the fallout." When I hit send, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Whatever came next, at least the truth was out there. The story broke like a tsunami. Within hours, national news outlets picked it up, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Dad tried to do damage control. He called a press conference full of righteous indignation. "These baseless accusations from my estranged daughter are nothing but a desperate cry for attention." That's what my father said in his press conference, trying to deflect the truth. But the evidence was undeniable. Former employees came forward, corroborating everything in my story. It wasn't long before the FBI got involved, raiding the offices of Parker Enterprises. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling strangely detached. This was what I wanted, right? The truth out in the open. My career skyrocketed. I became the go-to journalist for corruption stories. I was invited to speak at conferences, offered book deals. But the success felt hollow. One night, Megan showed up at my apartment looking lost. "Dad's assets are frozen," she said, her voice shaking. I don't know what to do, Liv." "Figure it out, Megan," I replied coldly. "That's what the rest of us do." She looked at me, eyes pleading. "Can't we just start over? Be sisters again?" I stared at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. "No, Megan, we can't. Some bridges, once burned, stay that way." Months passed, and Dad's empire crumbled. He was indicted on multiple charges: fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion. The trial was a media circus, and through it all, I kept working, kept digging, kept exposing the truth. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from the police. "Miss Parker, we've arrested the guy who stole your car that night. Turns out he was part of a larger theft ring. Thought you'd want to know." I thanked him and hung up, feeling dazed. It was like closing a chapter I'd forgotten was still open. A year to the day after my story broke, I found myself on stage, accepting the Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting. As I stepped up to the microphone, I held the award tight. "This is for everyone who's ever been told their voice doesn't matter. For everyone who's been pushed aside, ignored, or silenced. Your truth matters. Your story matters. Never stop fighting to be heard." As I stepped off the stage, clutching my award, I felt something I hadn't expected: freedom. I had lost my family, but I had found my voice. And that, I realized, was worth everything. Now we want to hear from you. If you were in Olivia's shoes, would you have exposed your family's crimes, knowing it could destroy your relationships and potentially ruin their lives? Or would you have tried to handle it privately to protect them? This is a tough moral dilemma with no easy answers. Some might argue that family loyalty should come first, while others believe that exposing corruption is always the right thing to do, no matter the personal cost. What would you do in this situation? Would your decision change if it wasn't your family but close friends instead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this complex issue. Hello there, I'm Raisin. At 32, I'm living the dream in a mansion that looks like it stepped right off the pages of a glossy magazine. I'm thriving as a fashion designer, married to Michael, my handsome 40-year-old husband, who is often away fulfilling his role as a high-profile ambassador. But the real star of the show? That would be our little angel, Malika. She's only 10 months old, but she already runs the household. Elena, could you grab Malika's favorite teddy? I swear she knows when it's missing. I call out to my nanny while balancing fabric swatches in one hand and participating in a conference call on the other. Elena, bless her, pops her head in and says, already ahead of you, Risen. Little Miss has it in her crib. Just then, my phone buzzes. It's Samantha, my best friend and partner in the fashion world. Hey, girl, you free for coffee? I've got some juicy gossip, she says. Sam, you're a lifesaver. Come over in an hour. I'm drowning in silk samples. I respond. Just as I hang up, the doorbell rings. Wonderful, it's Vanessa, my sister-in-law from hell. Risen, darling, she exclaims, greeting me with exaggerated air kisses. This place looks quaint. Have you thought about redecorating? I bite my tongue and force a smile. Thanks for the suggestion, Vanessa. How's Tom? Her face tightens. Oh, busy with work. Yeah, sure. Busy accumulating gambling debts, I think, but I keep it civil. Send him our love, I say as she leaves. I collapse onto the sofa, exhaling. Elena, remind me why I put up with her, I ask. She chuckles and replies, family, Miss Risen. Can't live with them, can't ship them off to Siberia. The rest of the day is a whirlwind of sketches, phone calls, and baby giggles. As night falls, I find myself scrolling through a food delivery app. Sam, you staying for dinner? I'm thinking Thai. Count me in, but no peanuts this time. Last order was a disaster, she laughs. I place the order, making sure it's a peanut-free zone tonight. As I hit confirm, a wave of contentment washes over me. My career is flourishing. I have the best kid in the world and a support system that rocks. Sure, Michael's away and Vanessa can be a nightmare, but life is good. If only I knew what was coming next. But that's a story for another day. For now, I'm just going to enjoy this moment of peace before my food arrives. Little did I know that delivery was about to change everything. The doorbell rings and my mouth waters at the thought of pad thai. I've got it, Elena. I call, heading to the door. Hey there. The delivery guy greets me with a smile that seems just a little off. I brush it aside, too hungry to care. Thanks, I reply, fumbling for my wallet. Just give me a sec to sign this. As I scribble my signature, I hear a faint thud from upstairs. Probably just Elena dropping something, I think. All set, I say, handing back the receipt. Have a good night. I'm about to dig into the food when I realize something odd. I haven't heard Malika in a while. Usually she's fussing by now, ready for her evening bottle. Elena? I call, heading upstairs. No response. My heart starts racing. I push open the nursery door, and my world falls apart. Elena is on the floor, unconscious, and Malika is gone. No. I mutter, frantically searching the room. This can't be happening. This has to be a nightmare. I grab my phone with shaking hands and dial 911. My baby's been taken. I sob into the phone. Everything after that is a blur. Police swarming the house, reporters camped outside, and me, answering the same questions over and over, my voice hollow. Mrs. Risen. A stern-looking woman approaches me. I'm Detective Sarah Rodriguez. Can you walk me through what happened? I recount the events, feeling like a broken record. The delivery, the silence, finding Elena. And you didn't notice anything suspicious about the delivery man, she probes. I don't know. Maybe? He seemed a little nervous. Detective Rodriguez's eyes narrow. We need a detailed description. This seems very targeted. The word hits me like a punch to the gut. Targeted? Who would want to hurt my baby? My phone buzzes. It's Michael. Risen, what's going on? I'm seeing reports. Michael? My voice catches. Malika's gone. Someone took her. You need to come home. I'm on the next flight, he says, his voice tight with worry and anger. As the night wears on, my mind races. Who could have done this? Why? The house is in chaos, with police combing every inch for clues. Samantha arrives, pushing past the reporters outside. Risen, oh my God, she gasps, pulling me into a tight hug. I don't understand, I whisper, clinging to her. Who would do this? Detective Rodriguez approaches again. Mrs. Risen, does anyone have a grudge against your family? Any threats recently? I shake my head, then pause. Well, there's my sister-in-law, Vanessa, but she wouldn't. She's family. The detective makes a note. We'll look into everyone. No stone unturned. As dawn breaks, I sit in Malika's nursery, clutching her favorite teddy bear. The house is quiet now, most of the police gone. But the nightmare is far from over. I look at Malika's empty crib, fierce determination settling over me. I'll find you, baby, I whisper. No matter what it takes. It's been 5 days since Malika was taken. 5 days of hell. The police are working around the clock, but it's not enough. I need more. Marcus, I don't care what it costs. Find something the police miss, I say, pacing my living room. The grizzled PI nods. I'm on it, Mrs. Risen. I've got some contacts the cops don't. Days blur together, and I'm running on coffee and desperation when Marcus calls. I've got something. The delivery guy, Jake, he's connected to your brother-in-law, Tom. They were cellmates. My blood runs cold. No, it can't be. I storm over to Tom and Vanessa's place, Michael right behind me. Where is she? I demand, bursting through the door. Vanessa looks shocked. Risen, what are you talking about? Don't play dumb, Michael growls. We know about Tom's connection to Jake. Tom pales. That was years ago. I've got nothing to do with this. But something's off. They're too nervous, too defensive. As we argue, Vanessa slips up. We didn't hurt her. Jake was just supposed to. She clamps a hand over her mouth, realizing her mistake. Michael loses it. You were behind this? Your own niece? As they try to backpedal, I'm already dialing Detective Rodriguez. This nightmare has just gotten worse. Meanwhile, across town, Jake is falling apart. Lily, I messed up. Bad, he says into his phone, voice shaking. I need help. Lily, working her shift at the hospital, frowns. Jake, what's going on? I can't say over the phone. Can you meet me? Unbeknownst to Jake, Samantha is visiting her mom in the same hospital and overhears Lily's side of the conversation. That name, Jake, why does it sound familiar? Samantha mutters, then it hits her. The delivery guy. She immediately calls me. Risen, I think I've got a lead on Jake. Within hours, we're huddled in Detective Rodriguez's office, piecing it all together. So Tom and Vanessa put Jake up to this? Rodriguez confirms, scribbling notes. I nod, feeling sick. Looks like it, but why? Michael squeezes my hand. Money. It's always money with them. Rodriguez leans back. All right, here's what we're going to do. We set up a sting. Use Lily to draw Jake out and hopefully lead us to Malika. My heart races. This could be it. Our chance to bring Malika home. What do you need from us? I ask, ready to do anything. For now, act normal. We don't want to spook them. But be ready to move fast when we give the signal. As we leave the station, I feel a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. We're coming for you, Malika, I whisper. Mommy's coming. The next 24 hours are a blur of preparation. Wiretaps, undercover agents, everything. It feels like something out of a movie, except it's my life, my child at stake. As night falls, we get word. Jake's agreed to meet Lily. This is it. Our one shot at bringing Malika home. I squeeze Michael's hand as we wait in a nearby surveillance van. Ready? He asks. I take a deep breath. Ready. Let's get our daughter back. My heart pounds as we watch the scene unfold through grainy surveillance footage. Jake appears, looking nervous, with a bundle in his arms. My baby. I have to stop myself from bursting out of the van. Target in sight, a voice crackles over the radio. Wait for the exchange. Seconds feel like hours. Then Tom shows up. The moment he reaches for Malika, all hell breaks loose. Police. Freeze. It's chaos. Jake tries to run. But Jake doesn't get far. Tom is tackled to the ground, and there, in the middle of it all, is my little girl crying her heart out. I'm out of the van before anyone can stop me. Malika. I scoop her up, sobbing. She's okay, she's really okay. Michael arrives just as they're loading Tom into a squad car. The look he gives his brother could melt steel. How could you? he snarls. Tom just hangs his head in shame. Back at the station, the whole sordid story comes out. Tom and Vanessa, drowning in gambling debts, had cooked up this scheme to ransom Malika. They thought they could solve their money problems and make me look bad in the process, as if I care about my image when my child was in danger. We got Vanessa in custody too, Detective Rodriguez informs us. Caught her shredding documents, they're going away for a long time. Jake, looking like a kicked puppy, agrees to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. I can't even look at him. The next few weeks are a blur of court appearances and a media circus, but slowly, life starts to feel normal again. Well, a new normal. Michael and I are closer than ever, and going through this nightmare made us realize what really matters. Family, the good kind. I want to do something, I tell him one night. Help other families who've gone through this. No one should feel as alone as we did. And that's how the Malika Foundation is born. We provide support, resources, and hope to families of kidnapped children. It's not much, but it's a start. 5 years later, we're at our annual charity gala. Malika, now a bubbly 5-year-old, twirls in her party dress. Mommy, look. I'm a princess, she beams. I scoop her up, breathing in her familiar scent. You sure are, baby. Michael joins us, wrapping an arm around my waist. Tom and Vanessa's appeal was denied, he murmurs. They're not getting out anytime soon. I nod, feeling a mix of relief and lingering anger. Jake sent a letter last month asking to meet. I tore it up without reading it. Some bridges stay burned. As I look around the ballroom at all the families we've helped, I feel a sense of peace. We've turned our nightmare into something positive. Malika is safe, we're happy, and life goes on. Ready to give your speech? Michael asks, squeezing my hand. I take a deep breath and nod. It's time to share our story again, to give hope to those still searching. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that love and determination can overcome even the darkest of times. Toxic people, they have no place in our happily ever after. The story has come to an end, but I want to hear from you. If you were in Reason's shoes, could you ever forgive Jake, Tom, or Vanessa for what they did? Or do you believe some actions are truly unforgivable, especially when they involve harming a child? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters and could help others who face similar struggles. If this story touched you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more compelling real-life dramas. Your support helps us continue sharing these important stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Johnson, a 24-year-old artist from Chicago trying to make a name for myself in the art world. Things haven't exactly been smooth lately, but I've got quite the story to share with you all. It started with a text from my cousin Mark. Hey cuz, how about spending the summer at my farm in Iowa? Might help get those creative juices flowing. I stared at my phone, glancing around my tiny, cluttered apartment full of half-finished canvases and overdue bills. Was this really the escape I needed? As if reading my mind, Mark followed up, You still there, Sarah? Yeah, sorry, just thinking. Actually, it sounds perfect. When can I come? Whenever you want. The sooner the better. We've got plenty of space. I looked around at my cramped studio one last time. How about next week? Perfect. Can't wait to see you. I hung up and immediately called my mom to tell her the plan. Ever since the divorce, our relationship had been tense. Iowa? She said with a sneer. What could you possibly find there? Inspiration, maybe. I need a break, Mom. Well, don't come crying to me if it doesn't work out. I won't, Mom. I've got this. I ended the call, feeling a strange mix of excitement and unease. A week later, I was driving down a dusty country road, surrounded by miles of endless cornfields. Eventually, Mark's farm came into view, like something out of a postcard, complete with a red barn and a white farmhouse. Mark was waiting outside, waving me in with that big, goofy smile of his. Sarah, you made it. Hey, Mark, thanks for letting me crash here. Crash? Your family. Come on in. Let's get you settled. The house was warm, cozy, and inviting. Mark's wife, Lisa, was in the kitchen, baking something that smelled amazing. Sarah, this is my wife, Lisa, Mark said. Lisa wiped her hands on her apron, flashing me a bright smile before pulling me into a warm hug. So glad you're here. Hope you like apple pie. Who doesn't? I laughed, feeling more at ease. As we sat around the kitchen table, Mark asked about my art. Still chasing that dream, huh? I'm trying, but it's been tough lately. I guess you could say I've hit a block. Well, you're in the right place. Nothing but peace and quiet around here. If you want, you can even help out around the farm. Might give you a fresh perspective. I like that, I said, feeling hopeful for the first time in months. That night, as I unpacked in the guest room, I heard the rumble of a truck outside. Curiosity got the best of me, so I peeked out the window. A rugged-looking man was talking to Mark. The next morning, Mark introduced me to him. Sarah, this is Tom, our farmhand. Tom, this is my cousin Sarah. She'll be with us for the summer. Nice to meet you, Tom said, his expression unreadable. As the days passed, I started to settle into the slower rhythm of farm life. The fresh air and wide open spaces were exactly what I needed. I even started sketching again, inspired by the endless rolling fields and sunsets that stretched across the sky. One evening, as I was watching the sun dip below the horizon, Mark joined me on the porch. So how are you liking it here so far? He asked. It's beautiful, Mark. Really, thanks for having me. Of course, Sarah, I was thinking, since you're staying the whole summer, maybe you could pitch in a little more. Nothing too hard, just some extra chores here and there. Sure, I'd be happy to help, I said, not realizing how much I'd regret those words. At first, the tasks were manageable, feeding the chickens, helping Lisa in the garden. But soon, Mark was waking me up at dawn to muck out the stables and fix broken fences. Mark, this is getting to be a bit much, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. I came here to focus on my art, remember. Art doesn't put food on the table, Sarah. You're eating our food, aren't you? I bit my lip, trying to stay calm. Of course, and I'm grateful, but then Mark's patience snapped. Quit complaining and get to work, he barked. Days blurred together in a haze of exhaustion. One morning, as I dragged myself to the kitchen, I noticed something strange. My phone wasn't where I left it. Hey Lisa, have you seen my phone? I asked, trying to sound casual. She avoided my eyes. No, sorry, maybe you left it in the barn. I searched everywhere, but it was gone. So were my car keys. Panic began to rise in my chest. I found Mark in the yard. Mark, I can't find my phone or keys. I need to call my mom. He scoffed, not even looking at me. What for? To complain? You're fine here. That's when I met Karen, Mark's mother. She'd arrived unannounced, eyeing me like I was some kind of parasite. So this is the freeloader, she said, her voice thick with judgment. Mom, Mark said sharply, this is Sarah. She's helping out around the farm. Karen looked me up and down, unimpressed. Doesn't look like she's doing much helping to me. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Mark cut me off, his voice cold. Don't worry, Mom. I'll make sure she earns her keep. After that, everything got worse. If I didn't finish my chores to Mark's satisfaction, he'd withhold meals. You don't work, you don't eat. That's how it is here, he said, smiling like it was a joke. I tried to reason with him. Mark, this isn't right. I'm your cousin, not your slave. His eyes narrowed, and a dangerous edge crept into his voice. You ungrateful little, after everything we've done for you. I flinched, shocked by his anger. That's when Tom, the farmhand, stepped in. Boss, maybe you should ease up a bit, Tom said, his voice quiet but firm. Mark rounded on him, his face flushed with rage. Mind your own business, Tom, or you'll be looking for a new job. Tom backed off, but later when he found me alone, he whispered, I'm sorry, Sarah. Mark's done this before. What do you mean? Last summer, it was his nephew. Kid came to stay, ended up working himself to the bone. Left in the middle of the night. A chill ran down my spine. Why don't you say something? Tom looked away, his face clouded with regret. It's not that simple. Mark's got dirt on me. I can't afford to lose this job. I nodded, understanding but feeling more isolated than ever. One day, desperate to escape the relentless grind, I snuck out to the barn where I'd hidden my art supplies. Painting was my only refuge, but when I opened the door, I found my canvases slashed and my paint scattered across the floor. No, I whispered, dropping to my knees, tears blurring my vision. Oops, Mark's voice came from behind me, smug and taunting. Guess there was an accident in here. Shame. I turned to him, my voice breaking. Why are you doing this? Because you're here to work, not play with your little hobby. Now clean this mess up and get back to your chores," he muttered as he walked away. Useless city girl. I stared at the ruined remnants of my art supplies, something inside me snapping. This wasn't about chores anymore. Mark was trying to break me. That night, as I lay in bed, muscles aching and stomach growling, I made a decision. I had to get out, no matter what. But how? With no phone, no car, and miles from the nearest town, I was trapped. The next morning, while lugging a heavy bucket of milk across the yard, I tripped over a root. The bucket slipped from my grasp, crashing to the ground. Milk splashed everywhere. "You clumsy idiot," Mark's voice thundered behind me. I turned, stammering an apology, but his hand came out of nowhere. The slap was so hard, it knocked me off balance. I tasted blood. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I snuck out to find Tom. He was in the barn, startled when he saw me. "Sarah, what are you doing out here?" "I need your help, Tom. I have to get out of here." His eyes widened in alarm. "It's not safe. Mark will." "I don't care what Mark will do. I can't stay here another day. Please." Tom was silent for a long moment before he finally nodded. "All right, tomorrow night. I'll leave my truck unlocked. Keys will be under the floor mat." "Thank you," I whispered, a flicker of hope kindling in my chest for the first time in months. The next night dragged on forever. I packed my few belongings into a small bag and waited for the house to fall silent. Hours ticked by. Just as I was reaching for the back door, a light flicked on in the kitchen. "Who's there?" Karen's voice called out. I ducked behind the couch, my heart pounding in my ears. I held my breath, praying she wouldn't investigate further. After an eternity, I heard her shuffle back upstairs, grumbling. Once the coast was clear, I slipped out into the cool night air. I sprinted across the yard to Tom's truck, my pulse racing. As I pulled out of the driveway, headlights suddenly blazed to life behind me. Mark's truck. He must have heard the engine, I muttered, slamming my foot on the gas. Mark was right behind me, honking and flashing his lights. Come on, I urged, pushing the old truck as fast as it would go. Up ahead, I spotted a sharp bend in the road with a small dirt path branching off. In a split-second decision, I cut the headlights and swerved onto the path. I heard Mark's truck roar past, continuing down the main road. I killed the engine and sat in the pitch-black silence, barely breathing. Minutes passed, but Mark didn't turn back. I had lost him. Hands shaking, I restarted the truck and drove slowly, carefully in the opposite direction from where Mark had gone. An hour later, the lights of a small town flickered in the distance, and tears of relief streamed down my face as I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner. I was free, battered, exhausted, and wearing nothing but torn work clothes. But I was free. My legs shook as I stepped out of the truck, each step feeling surreal after the nightmare I'd endured. I stumbled inside, the warmth of the diner contrasting sharply with the cold weight of my memories. The waitress took one look at me, her eyes widening, and without saying a word, she picked up the phone. The next thing I knew, I was being taken to a women's shelter. "You're safe now," a counselor named Anna told me softly. "Take all the time you need to heal." For days, I did nothing but sleep and cry. The trauma of what I'd lived through felt like an anchor dragging me down. But slowly, I started to feel a glimmer of strength return. When I finally felt ready, I called my mom. "Sarah, where have you been?" "I've been worried sick." Her voice cracked with emotion. "Mom, I need to tell you everything." I poured out my story, every horrific detail. When I finished, the silence on the other end of the line was thick with shock. Then I heard her crying. "I'm so sorry, honey," she sobbed. "I should have been there for you. Can I come see you?" Our reunion was raw, filled with tears and long overdue healing. As I recovered, I found solace in art again. I started sketching, first as an escape, then as a way to process my pain. Anna noticed. "Have you thought about sharing your story through your art?" she asked one afternoon. That question ignited something inside me. I began pouring my experiences onto the pages of a graphic novel, each stroke of the pen both painful and cathartic. Months passed, and I posted a few pages online. To my surprise, they spread like wildfire. "Sarah, you've got to see this," Anna said one morning, showing me her tablet. My story had gone viral. The police soon contacted me. We're opening an investigation into your cousin's farm, the detective said after our interview. Then Tom called. Sarah, I saw your story online. His voice was shaky, but determined. I want to help. I've got evidence of what Mark's been doing. With Tom's testimony and the traction from my graphic novel, things escalated quickly. The farm was raided. What they found was worse than I imagined. Other victims, financial records, and proof of Mark's exploitation. Lisa, Mark's wife, left him, looking dazed and broken as she gave her statement to the police. Meanwhile, a publisher reached out about my graphic novel. We want to publish your story, Sarah, they said. It's powerful. I couldn't believe it. My art, born from such darkness, was becoming my salvation. Months later, I stood in a gallery in Chicago, surrounded by blown-up panels from my book. Friends, family, and strangers moved through the exhibit, many with tears in their eyes. My mom stood beside me, squeezing my hand. I'm so proud of you, sweetie, she whispered. As I mingled with the crowd, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Tom. Just heard, Mark's been sentenced. 15 years for labor trafficking and tax evasion. It's over, Sarah. As I locked up the gallery that night, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. My story was out there, maybe even helping others escape similar situations. Walking out into the cool Chicago night, I felt strong, unbreakable, ready for whatever life threw at me. Because now, I knew I could handle it. I was a survivor, an artist, and a voice for the voiceless. And no one, not Mark, not anyone, could ever take that away from me again. That's the end of my story, everyone. But now, I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have tried to help Lisa escape too, or was leaving her behind the right call? It's a tough situation. She enabled Mark's abuse, but she was also a victim. What would you have done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could help someone going through something similar. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share. It helps spread awareness about these hidden forms of abuse. If you want to hear more stories like mine, hit that subscribe button. Together, we can shine a light on these issues and help others find their strength. Thanks for listening. Hey there, I'm Jarma, a 32-year-old translator living in the heart of New York City. Life's been a wild ride since I left the Czech Republic as a teenager. I've worked my way up, hustling to build a career I'm proud of, translating for bigwigs at the UN and Fortune 500 companies. Babe, have you seen my lucky tie? That's my husband, Michael, calling from the bedroom. He's the sweetest guy, a dedicated elementary school teacher who can wrangle a room full of hyperactive kids, but can never seem to find his own clothes. Check the laundry basket, I shout back, rolling my eyes with a smile. Moments later, Michael pops his head out, grinning. What would I do without you, Jarma? Probably show up to school with mismatched socks, I tease. Our apartment isn't anything fancy, but it's filled with love and laughter, something my brother Victor never really understood. Right on cue, my phone buzzes. It's a text from Victor. Don't forget, baby sis engagement party this Saturday. Wear something presentable. I groan and show the message to Michael. Can you believe him? Michael sighs. Your brother's a piece of work. Are you sure you want to go? I shrugged. He's still family, right? Besides, I've got to meet this Olivia he's marrying. Poor girl probably has no idea what she's getting into. Olivia Prescott. Michael raises an eyebrow. Isn't her family, like, ridiculously rich? Yep, I doubt Victor's marrying for love, I mutter. Victor's always been jealous of my success. Sure, he's got this big-shot finance job, but he's never been satisfied. Every family dinner turns into some competition. Remember last Thanksgiving? Michael says as he adjusts his tie in the mirror. I groan. How could I forget? Of Jarma still playing telephone operator for a living. I mimic Victor's condescending tone. And then he had the nerve to call teachers glorified babysitters. Michael's expression falters for a moment, and I wrap my arms around him. Hey, you're changing lives. Victor wouldn't last 5 minutes in your classroom. Michael smiles and kisses my forehead. Thanks, babe. So what's the game plan for Saturday? I sigh, flopping onto our worn-out couch. Smile, nod, and try not to punch my brother in his smug face. Solid plan, Michael chuckles. Want me to fake food poisoning so we can bail early? I laugh but then pause. Maybe we should give it a real shot, for mom and dad's sake, at least. Michael raises an eyebrow. You sure? Last time we tried to keep the peace, Victor accidentally spilled wine all over me. I know, I groan. But he's getting married. Maybe he'll finally grow up. Michael snorts, and maybe pigs will fly. Later, as I lay out our outfits for the engagement party, I can't help but wonder if I'm making a mistake. But family's family, right? Even when they're a pain in the ass. The night of Victor's engagement party finally arrives, and I find myself nervously smoothing down my dress in the mirror of some swanky club bathroom. Michael and I had gone back and forth on whether we should even show up. In the end, we decided to make an appearance, family obligations, and all that. You look beautiful, Michael said as I stepped out of the bathroom. He looked handsome in his suit, though he kept nervously tugging at his collar. Thanks, babe. Ready to face the lion's den? I asked, taking his hand. We made our way through the crowded club, nodding at acquaintances while searching for familiar faces. The place was packed with Victor's finance bros and Olivia's socialite friends. Michael and I stuck out like sore thumbs. There's the happy couple, I muttered, spotting Victor and Olivia holding court near the bar. As we approached, Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. Well, the teacher and the translator decided to grace us with their presence after all. I forced a smile. Wouldn't miss it, brother dear. Congratulations, Olivia. Draped in designer labels, Olivia gave us a once-over. How quaint. Victor, darling, aren't you going to introduce me properly? Victor waved a dismissive hand. My sister, Jarma, and her husband. Mike, was it? Michael, I corrected through gritted teeth. Right. Well, mingle, enjoy yourselves. Open bar and all that, Victor said, already turning away. Michael squeezed my hand. Deep breaths, jar. We just have to make it through tonight. We circulated through the party, making small talk and dodging backhanded compliments. I was just starting to think we might actually survive the evening when I overheard Victor's voice coming from a nearby VIP area. Can you believe my sister actually married that loser? An elementary school teacher. Talk about settling. I froze, my blood turning to ice. Across the room, Michael was chatting with someone, blissfully unaware of what was being said. Why do you even invite them, man? One of Victor's friends asked. Victor's laugh was sharp and cruel. Are you kidding? It's hilarious. Plus, I get to show everyone what a charitable big brother I am, taking care of the family charity case. That was it. Fury burning in my chest, I stormed into the VIP area. What the hell did you just say about my husband? Victor's eyes widened briefly before his signature smirk returned. Eavesdropping, little sister. How rude. No, what's rude is insulting the people you supposedly care about behind their backs, I snapped. Oh, come on, can't take a joke. Victor swayed slightly as he stood. Everyone knows Michael's not good enough for you. Hell, you're barely good enough for this family. The words hit like a slap. Excuse me? You heard me, Victor sneered. Little Jarma, always trying to prove herself, playing translator while the rest of us do real work. It's pathetic, really. I saw red. You arrogant, self-centered piece off. Everything okay over here? Michael's voice cut through the tension. He must have noticed the commotion. Victor's grin turned predatory. Oh look, it's the glorified babysitter. Tell me, Mike, how does it feel knowing you'll never be able to provide for my sister the way she deserves? Michael's face fell, and something inside me snapped. That's it. We're leaving. And you know what? Don't expect us at your wedding. I'm done trying to please you, Victor. I grabbed Michael's hand and started to walk away, but Victor's words followed us. Running away again, Jarmella? Typical. You were always a disappointment. The drive home was silent, tears streaming down my face as Michael stared blankly out the window. When we finally got to our apartment, the dam broke. I'm so sorry, I sobbed. You didn't deserve any of that. Michael pulled me into his arms. It's not your fault, Jar. Your brother's always been an ass. I can't believe I kept giving him chances, I said, wiping my eyes. No more. I'm done with him. Over the next few days, my phone blew up with messages from Victor, each one more manipulative than the last. Come on, sis. I was drunk. You know I didn't mean it. Mom's heartbroken you're not coming to the wedding. How could you do this to the family? Stop being so dramatic. It was just a joke. I deleted every single one. No more second chances. No more toxic family drama. It was time to put myself and Michael first, no matter what anyone else thought. The fallout from Victor's bachelor party was nuclear. I dreaded making the call to my parents, but I knew I had to stand my ground. As I dialed their number, my stomach churned. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about Victor's wedding." I started, my voice shaking slightly. "Oh honey, we're so excited." Mom gushed. "Have you picked out your dress yet?" I took a deep breath. "Actually, that's what I need to tell you. Michael and I won't be attending." The silence on the other end was deafening. Then Dad's voice came through, low and angry. "What do you mean you're not attending? He's your brother." I explained what had happened at the bachelor party, my voice growing stronger with each word. But it didn't matter. They weren't listening. "You must have misunderstood," Mom insisted. "Victor would never say such things." "Your brother is under a lot of stress," Dad added. "You need to be more understanding." I hung up, feeling defeated, but Michael's supportive smile reminded me why I was doing this. We were in this together. Over the next few weeks, the family grapevine exploded. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had strong opinions about my life choices. Aunt Marta called to tell me I was being selfish, while Uncle Pavel sent a long-winded email about the importance of family. It wasn't until my cousin Petra reached out that I realized just how bad it had gotten. "Jarma, what's this I hear about you being jealous of Victor's success? And that Michael lost his job?" My blood boiled. Victor had been busy spreading lies to make himself look better. I set Petra straight, but the damage was done. It felt like the entire family had turned against us. Fine. If that's how they wanted to play it, I'd show them what success really looked like. I threw myself into my work, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. When a prestigious interpreting position opened up at the UN, I went after it with everything I had. The day I got the offer, I burst into our apartment, waving a letter. "Michael, I got it." He scooped me up into a bear hug, spinning me around. "I knew you would, babe. You're incredible." As I settled into my new role, Michael was making waves of his own. He developed an innovative teaching program that combined music and math, and the kids were eating it up. Suddenly, the school board was taking notice. One night, as we celebrated with takeout and cheap champagne, Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then did a double take. "Holy, what is it?" I asked, my mouth full of lo mein. He showed me the email. The state education department wanted to implement his program across multiple districts. There was even talk of a grant, maybe even a book deal. "Look at us," I laughed, clinking my plastic cup against his. The loser translator and the glorified babysitter, taking over the world. As Victor's wedding day approached, we packed our bags for a well-deserved vacation. Let them have their drama. We were headed for a week of sun, sand, and not giving a damn about family politics. We were sipping cocktails on the beach when my phone pinged with a text from Petra. "OMG, you won't believe what happened at the wedding." Curiosity got the better of me, so I called her back, and the story came tumbling out. Apparently, Victor had gotten wasted and caused a scene at the reception. He'd ranted about ungrateful sisters and worthless brothers-in-law, airing all the family's dirty laundry in front of Olivia's horrified relatives. "It was a disaster, Jarma," Petra said. "Half the family left early, and Olivia looked like she wanted to murder him." I felt a twinge of satisfaction, quickly followed by guilt. I didn't want to be the kind of person who took pleasure in someone else's misfortunes, but I couldn't deny the sense of justice. "The story's over, but I want to hear from you. Was I right to cut ties with Victor, or should family always come first, no matter what?" Share your thoughts in the comments. Hi, I'm Olivia Thompson, a 16-year-old high school student. But maybe not your typical one. I have a passion for art that burns brighter than the sun. Unfortunately, in my house, it might as well be a flickering candle. I live with my parents, Mark and Linda, and my adopted sister, Emma. She's 14 and the apple of their eye. "Olivia, have you seen Emma's latest test scores?" Mom's voice cuts through the silence as I sketch in the living room. I sighed and set down my pencil. "No, Mom. How did she do?" "Perfect score, as usual. We're so proud of her." I force a smile, but inside I'm screaming. It's always about Emma's achievements. Meanwhile, my latest art piece sits forgotten in the corner, gathering dust. Later that day, I vent to my best friend Zoe over the phone. I swear, Zoe, it's like I'm invisible in my own home. "That's rough, Liv," But hey, didn't Mr. Johnson love your last painting? She reminds me. I smile, thinking about my art teacher's praise. Yeah, he did. At least someone notices. The next day at school, Mr. Johnson pulls me aside after class. Olivia, I've got some exciting news about an upcoming art competition. My heart races with excitement, but then a sharp pain in my stomach makes me wince. Are you okay? Mr. Johnson asks, concern written on his face. Yeah, just a stomach ache. It's nothing. I brush it off. The truth is, I've been having these pains for weeks, but I haven't told anyone. My parents are too busy with Emma, and I don't want to be a burden. That evening at dinner, I'm pushing food around my plate, the pain growing worse. I stay quiet. Emma, tell your father about your science project, Mom gushes. Emma launches into a detailed explanation, and I tune out. Suddenly, a sharp pain makes me gasp. Olivia, what's wrong? Dad finally notices. Nothing, I mutter, but cold sweat beads on my forehead. Are you sure? Mom asks, but before I can answer, her attention shifts back to Emma. I excuse myself and head to my room, clutching my stomach. As I lie in bed, I hear my parents talking in the hallway. Should we call Dr. Peterson about Olivia? Dad asks. Oh, I'm sure it's nothing, Mom dismisses. Did you see Emma's project outline? It's brilliant. Tears sting my eyes. Even when I'm in pain, I'm an afterthought. The next day at school, I'm in art class, trying to focus on my canvas. The pain is unbearable, but I grit my teeth. Mr. Johnson is explaining a new technique when suddenly the room starts spinning. Olivia? Mr. Johnson's voice sounds distant, but I can't respond. The last thing I remember is the cold floor rushing up to meet me. When I come to, the world is blurry, slowly coming into focus. I'm in a hospital bed, the antiseptic smell stinging my nose. My stomach feels like it's on fire. Olivia, can you hear me? A doctor I don't recognize is leaning over me. I try to nod, but even that small movement sends waves of pain through my body. I'm Dr. Chen. You're in the hospital. Your appendix ruptured, and we need to operate immediately. Suddenly, my parents burst into the room, looking flustered. Olivia, what happened? Mom asks, but before I can respond, her phone chimes and she glances at it. Dr. Chen turns to them, serious. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, Olivia's condition is severe. The infection could spread if we don't operate quickly. Dad nods but is busy tapping away on his phone. How long will the surgery take? We have a commitment later. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Dr. Chen looks shocked. Sir, your daughter's life is at risk. This isn't a minor procedure. Just then, Zoe rushes in. Liv, oh my God, are you okay? She grabs my hand, and I feel a lump in my throat. At least someone cares. As they prepare me for surgery, I drift in and out of consciousness, catching pieces of my parents' conversation. Mark, we can't miss Emma's science fair. She's worked so hard, Mom says. I know, Linda. Maybe we can take turns. One of us stay here, the other go to the fair, Dad suggests. I want to scream to tell them. I need them both, but the pain is overwhelming. The next thing I know, I'm being wheeled into the operating room. Dr. Chen looks concerned. Olivia, we're going to do everything we can. The rupture is quite severe, so there might be complications. As the anesthesia begins to take effect, I catch a glimpse of my parents standing by the door. Mom is on the phone. Emma, sweetie, don't worry. We'll be there for your presentation. Your sister's just having a small procedure. Small procedure? Tears slip down my cheeks as the world fades to black. When I wake up, I'm groggy and sore. Zoe is sitting by my bedside, not my parents. Hey, sleepyhead, she says softly. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck, I croak. Where are my parents? Zoe hesitates. They had to leave. Emma's science fair, remember. I close my eyes, fighting back the tears. Of course. Emma's science fair was more important than my life-threatening surgery. Dr. Chen enters, looking tired but relieved. Olivia, you gave us quite a scare. There were some complications during the surgery due to the severity of the rupture, but we managed to get everything under control. Complications? Zoe asks, squeezing my hand. Dr. Chen nods grimly. The infection had spread more than we initially thought. For a while, we were concerned. He trails off, then forces a smile. But you're a fighter, Olivia. You pulled through. I try to process the weight of his words. I could have died, and my parents aren't even here. When can I go home? I ask, though the word home feels hollow now. We'll need to keep you here for a few days to monitor for any post-operative complications. Dr. Chen explains before leaving. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Mom. Hope you're feeling better, sweetie. Emma won first place. We're taking her out to celebrate. Rest up. We'll visit tomorrow. I hand the phone to Zoe, unable to look at it anymore. She reads the text, her face darkening. Liv, I'm so sorry. This isn't right. I close my eyes, exhaustion and hurt washing over me. It's fine, I lie. I'm used to it. Hours later, I wake to the steady beep of machines. My body feels like it's been run over by a truck. The room is empty, and for a moment, panic sets in. Where is everyone? Time drags on before Zoe finally bursts into the room, her face a mix of relief and anger. Liv, I'm so sorry I couldn't be here earlier. How are you feeling? Like death warmed over, I say weakly. Where are my parents? Zoe's face falls. They're not here yet. Emma's science fair ran late, and they took her out to celebrate her win. I close my eyes, fighting back the tears. Even after major surgery, I'm still an afterthought. Later, Mr. Johnson visits, carrying a familiar portfolio under his arm. Olivia, I brought something to brighten up this dreary room. He pulls out my paintings and pins them to the walls. The burst of color against the sterile white feels like a piece of meat in this place. You've got real talent, Olivia. Don't let anyone dim your light, he says warmly. His words bring some comfort, but the absence of my family leaves a cold pit in my stomach. Dr. Chen comes in for a checkup, his brow furrowed. Olivia, how are you feeling? Any pain or discomfort? I shake my head, but he doesn't look convinced. I've been trying to reach your parents to discuss your post-operative care. It's crucial that you have proper support during your recovery. Just then, my parents finally arrive, Emma in tow, all smiles and excited chatter. Olivia, honey, how are you? Mom asks, but her eyes keep darting to Emma's trophy. Dr. Chen pulls them aside, his voice low but stern. I strain to hear. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I need to express my concern. Olivia's surgery was far more critical than you seem to realize. There were moments when we almost lost her. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I almost died, and they weren't even here. But you said it was just her appendix, Dad stammers. A ruptured appendix is serious, especially when left untreated for so long. Olivia will need extensive care during her recovery. My parents look shocked, but then Emma interrupts. Mom, Dad, can we go show Grandma my trophy now? To my disbelief, they actually consider it. That's when Zoe steps in, her voice sharp. I've called my parents. They've offered to let Olivia stay with us during her recovery. For a moment, I feel relief, then guilt, then anger. Why do I feel guilty? Why do I need my best friend's family to step up when my own parents won't? As my family leaves, promising to visit soon, though I don't believe them, I overhear Dr. Chen talking to a nurse outside. It was touch and go for a while. If we'd waited any longer to operate, well, let's just say Olivia's lucky to be alive. The words echo in my mind. Lucky to be alive. And where were my parents during that life or death moment? Watching Emma win a science fair. The next weeks blur together in recovery and revelation. I'm moving with Zoe's family, and for the first time in years I feel seen. Zoe's mom checks on me regularly, making I'm comfortable and taking my meds. Zoe's dad cracks terrible jokes that somehow make the pain more bearable. How's our young Picasso doing today? He asks one morning, bringing me breakfast in bed. I smile, a genuine one this time. Better, thanks. I can't thank you all enough for this. Zoe squeezes my hand. That's what family does. Live, real family. Those words hit hard, but in a good way. Mr. Johnson visits often, bringing news that reignites my passion. Olivia, there's this incredible art program I think you should apply for. It could be your ticket to bigger things. We spend hours working on my portfolio, and for the first time, I feel like my art matters, like I matter. The day I'm well enough to return home, I brace myself for the confrontation I know is coming. My parents greet me with all smiles and welcome homes, but I'm not buying it anymore. We need to talk, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Of course, sweetie. What about? Mom asks, distracted by her phone. I take a deep breath. About how you missed my life-threatening surgery for Emma's science fair. About how you've always put her first, made me feel invisible. The room goes silent. Dad sputters, "Now Olivia, that's not fair." Not fair? I laugh bitterly. What's not fair is nearly dying alone in a hospital while my parents celebrate my sister's trophy. Emma, who's been lurking in the doorway, suddenly explodes. "It's not my fault you're jealous of my success. Maybe if you worked harder." "Emma," Mom gasps, but I see it now, the golden child's true colors. I stand my ground. "I'm done being your afterthought. I'm staying with Zoe's family until I'm 18. Then I'm out of here for good." The aftermath is chaotic. Dr. Peterson, our family doctor who's known us for years, gets involved. He reports my parents to child services, citing medical neglect. "I've watched this situation deteriorate for years," he tells the social worker. What happened during Olivia's surgery was the last straw. My emancipation case moves forward, supported by testimony from Dr. Chen, Mr. Johnson, and others who've witnessed my parents' neglect. Meanwhile, my art starts gaining attention. A piece I created during recovery, a stark emotional portrayal of isolation in a family, wins a local contest, leading to a scholarship opportunity at a prestigious art school. Mr. Johnson beams with pride when I tell him, "You're going places, Olivia. Your pain has become your power." As news of my parents' neglect spreads, their carefully crafted image crumbles. Dad's law firm puts him on leave pending an investigation, and Mom's social circle, once a source of bragging rights about Emma's achievements, turns its back on her. Emma, unused to not being the center of attention, lashes out, but her outbursts only serve to highlight the dysfunction that's been simmering beneath the surface all along. On my 18th birthday, I stand in front of my new apartment, keys in hand. Zoe, her parents, and Mr. Johnson surround me, ready to help me move in. "You did it, Liv," Zoe says, hugging me tight. "You reclaimed your life." I smile, knowing that the girl in that painting, the one trapped in a family that never saw her, isn't just an image anymore. She's me, and she's finally, truly alive. Olivia's journey raises important questions about family dynamics and self-worth. What would you have done in her situation? Is cutting ties with neglectful family members ever justified, or should blood relations always be given another chance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Thompson, and this is my story. Our suburban home used to be filled with the laughter of my 5-year-old daughter, Emily, and the love of my husband, Mark. At least, that's what I thought. I was thriving at work, designing spaces that people would call home for generations. My best friend and colleague, Rachel, was always by my side, cheering me on. "Liv, you're going to knock their socks off with this design," Rachel said as she reviewed my latest blueprints. I smiled, feeling on top of the world. "Thanks, Ra. I just hope Mark's mom doesn't find something to criticize about it." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Barbara, she'd find fault with the Sistine Chapel if you designed it." We laughed, but deep down, her constant disapproval weighed on me. Just last Sunday at dinner, Barbara was at it again. "Mark, darling, don't you think Emily's clothes are a bit common? I saw the cutest boutique outfits that would be much more suitable." I bit my tongue, but Mark just shrugged. "Mom, Olivia knows what she's doing." Not exactly the support I hoped for, but I let it slide. That night, as I tucked Emily into bed, she looked up at me with her innocent eyes. "Mommy, will you build me a castle someday?" she asked. "Of course, princess. The biggest, most beautiful castle you can imagine." Little did I know, our world was about to come crashing down. In the middle of the night, I woke up to the acrid smell of smoke. Panic surged through me as I realized our house was on fire. "Mark, Emily," I screamed, stumbling out of bed. The hallway was filled with thick, black smoke. I heard Emily crying from her room. "Mommy, I'm scared." I didn't hesitate. I ran towards her voice, the heat burning my skin. When I reached her, she was huddled in the corner, clutching her favorite teddy bear. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." I scooped her up, shielding her with my body as we made our way back to the hallway. Suddenly, there was a deafening crack. I looked up just in time to see a beam falling from the ceiling. In that split second, I made a choice. I turned, covering Emily completely as the beam came crashing down. White-hot pain exploded across my back and head. The last thing I remember was the wail of sirens and Emily's terrified cries before everything went dark. I didn't know it then, but that moment of sacrifice would change everything. My life as I knew it was over, and a new, harder journey was just beginning. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Then came the pain, a dull throb across my face and eyes. I tried to open them, but there was nothing. Just darkness. "Hello, is anyone there?" My voice sounded weak, unfamiliar. "Mrs. Thompson, you're awake," a warm but professional voice responded. "I'm Dr. Alicia Reeves. How are you feeling?" I can't see. Why can't I see?" There was a pause, heavy with unspoken words. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Thompson. The fire caused severe damage to your eyes. We did everything we could, but you've lost your sight." The words hit me like a physical blow. Blind. How could I be blind? What about my work? My daughter? My life? Where's Mark? Where's Emily? I asked, panic rising in my throat. "Your husband stepped out for a moment. Your daughter is with your friend, Rachel." Days blurred together after that. I could hear the pity in people's voices, feel their awkward attempts to comfort me. Mark barely visited, and when he did, he seemed distracted. "Mark, I need you," I pleaded one day, reaching out for his hand. "I'm here, Olivia," he said, but his voice was distant. I need to take care of some things at work. Mom's going to help with Emily." "Barbara." "Great." As if I needed her judgment on top of everything else. Rachel became my lifeline. She visited every day, bringing updates about Emily and helping me navigate this new, dark world. "Liv, you're the strongest person I know," she said one day. "You're going to get through this." I wasn't so sure. Simple tasks had become monumental challenges. How could I take care of Emily when I couldn't even find my way to the bathroom without help? One afternoon, I overheard two nurses gossiping outside my room. "Did you see Dr. Reeves with that patient's husband again? They seem awfully close." "Well, can you blame him? His wife's blind now. Dr. Reeves probably understands what he's going through better than anyone." I pushed the thought away. Mark wouldn't, would he? Barbara's visits were torture. "Oh, Olivia," she'd sigh. "How are you going to take care of Emily like this? Maybe it's best if Mark and I handle things for a while." I bit my tongue, anger and frustration building inside me. The one bright spot was Jake, a nurse who helped me with physical therapy. "Come on, Olivia," he'd encourage. "One more step. You've got this." His kindness was a balm to my battered spirit. But as the weeks passed, the pit in my stomach grew. Mark's visits became even rarer, and when he did come, Emily seemed reluctant to interact with him. "Daddy, why don't we come home anymore?" I overheard her ask one day. His response was muffled, but I could hear the discomfort in his voice. Something was wrong, very wrong, and I was stuck in this darkness, unable to see what was happening to my family. But I was determined to find out, even if I had to fumble my way through this new reality to do it. Little did I know, the truth would be even more painful than the darkness I was living in. That's when Rachel stepped up, becoming my eyes in more ways than one. "Liv, I've been doing some digging," Rachel said one day, her voice tight with anger. "Mark's been using your joint credit card for things that don't add up." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Expensive jewelry, fancy restaurants, places he's never taken you." I felt sick. Maybe it's for work or maybe he's planning a surprise. Rachel sighed. "Honey, I don't think so. This has been going on for weeks." Before I could process this, Jake came in, his usually cheerful voice somber. "Olivia, there's something you need to know. I overheard Dr. Reeves and your husband talking. They're having an affair." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, but beneath the pain, anger started to burn. When Mark finally showed up, I was ready. "Is it true?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Are you having an affair with Dr. Reeves?" There was a long pause. Then, to my shock, he laughed. Actually laughed. "Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. Yes, Olivia, Alicia, and I are together." "How could you?" I choked out. "How could you do this to me? How could I not?" He snapped. "Look at you, Olivia. You're blind. You can't take care of yourself, let alone Emily. Alicia understands me. She's not a burden." His words cut deeper than any knife. "A burden? Is that what I am to you now?" "Let's be realistic," he said coldly. "I'm leaving you, Olivia. I'm filing for divorce and full custody of Emily. You can't raise a child like this." "You can't take my daughter," I screamed. "Mom agrees with me," Mark continued. "A blind woman can't be a proper mother. It's for the best." I lunged at him, my fists connecting with empty air. "Get out!" I yelled. "Get out, you coward." After he left, I broke down. How could this be happening? How could I lose everything, my sight, my husband, and now, potentially, my daughter? But as I sat there in the darkness, something inside me hardened. No, I wouldn't let them win. I wouldn't let them take everything from me. With shaking hands, I picked up my phone. "Siri, call Lisa Anderson." Lisa, my old college friend turned hotshot lawyer, picked up on the third ring. "Olivia, is everything okay?" "Lisa, I need your help," I said, my voice cracking. "I'm about to fight the battle of my life, and I need the best lawyer I know." As I explained the situation, Lisa's voice grew fierce with determination. "Those bastards," she growled. "Don't worry, Liv. We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. They have no idea who they're messing with." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Mark, Barbara, even Dr. Reeves, they thought I was weak, helpless. But they were wrong. But they were about to learn just how strong I could be. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Emily. And I'd be damned if I let anyone take her away from me. The battle was just beginning, and I was ready for war. The day after my call with Lisa, I woke up with a fire in my belly. If they wanted a fight, I'd give them one they'd never forget. "Rachel, I need your help," I said. "We're going to revolutionize how I work." We spent weeks developing tactile models for my architectural designs. My fingers became my eyes, feeling every curve and angle. "This is brilliant, Liv," Rachel exclaimed. "You're not just adapting, you're innovating." Meanwhile, I threw myself into learning Braille and taking cooking classes for the visually impaired. The first time I made Emily's favorite mac and cheese without help, I cried happy tears. "Mommy, it's yummy." Emily giggled, and my heart soared. Lisa was a force of nature, building an ironclad case against Mark. "We've uncovered some interesting financial discrepancies," she said one day, "and Jake's testimony about Mark's neglect at the hospital is damning." The day of the custody hearing arrived, and I stood tall, my white cane a symbol of my independence, not my weakness. "Your Honor," I said, my voice steady, "I may have lost my sight, but I haven't lost my ability to love and care for my daughter. I've adapted, grown stronger. Emily is my world, and I'll move heaven and earth to give her the best life possible." The judge's verdict was clear. Mrs. Thompson has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. It's clear that Emily's best interests lie in remaining primarily with her mother. Mark's outraged gasp was music to my ears. Months passed, and life took on a new rhythm. My tactile architectural designs gained national attention. Olivia Thompson, visionary in the dark, one headline read. Emily thrived, with Rachel and Jake providing additional support. One day, as we walked in the park, Emily squeezed my hand. "Mommy, I'm glad you're my mommy," she said simply. Tears pricked my eyes. "I'm glad you're my daughter, sweetheart." Later, Rachel filled me in on the karma that had hit Mark and Barbara. "Mark's marriage to Dr. Reeves is over," she said with a smirk. "Seems he couldn't keep it in his pants. And your old firm? They've lost major clients who can't stomach Mark's behavior." I couldn't help but smirk. "And Barbara?" I asked. Rachel chuckled. "Let's just say her social circle isn't too fond of women who try to separate mothers from their children. She's not getting many party invitations these days." As I sat on my porch that evening, listening to Emily play in the yard, I realized something profound. Losing my sight hadn't weakened me. It had revealed a strength I never knew I possessed. "Mommy, come play with me," Emily called. I smiled, rising to my feet. The darkness that had once terrified me now felt like an old friend. I had faced my challenges head-on and emerged victorious. Mark, Barbara, all the doubters, they were behind me now. My future? It was bright, filled with love, success, and the sweet sound of my daughter's laughter. I might not be able to see it with my eyes, but I could feel it in every fiber of my being. As I joined Emily in the yard, I knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of our beautiful, hard-won happily ever after. If you were in Olivia's position, what would you have done? Would you have fought for custody of your child despite the challenges of sudden blindness, or would you have agreed with Mark that it might be best for the child to be with a sighted parent?